everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the peoples with me today?
Wienerless Stefan JD.
Stuart Hughes.
Wienerless Jesse. Fucking hate you guys.
It's okay. We hate ourselves.
I decided to do my Raz Carsey cry.
Millie! Scrap, in case someone who isn't part of the Overblood Super Replay group is very confused why we're making all these really dumb jokes. We will explain all that.
We will try. We will certainly try.
We'll explain some of it. First, I'll introduce the wonderful game I picked for us. This wasn't really something I wanted to play. This was just something I thought was us hitting our year anniversary, because today, as we're recording, is a year ago three of us sat down and recorded an episode of this podcast.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, thought for our 1 year anniversary, we would do Overblood, which is how we all met, which is a PS1 survival horror game. And I lost my tab. I had all my information. There we go. PS1 survival horror game that came out in 1997, developed by River Hill Soft, whoever the fuck they are, and published by Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
In some degree. It's a survival horror game.
I mean, this is all going back 10 years because the Overblood community, which we all are a part of, was actually made 10 years ago when Game Informer did their first Super Replay, which was a Let's Play, of them doing a full game, and the full game they did was this game, Overblood.
Actually, no, I think it was their third. Their first was Link to the Past, because we talked about that in the Link to the Past episode with Cork.
I don't think that was the first one.
I think it was the first. I think Overblood was like the first big one.
Probably their longest at the time. It was definitely my introduction to the game.
Probably everyone's introduction to the game.
I think Overblood's the first one based on like their YouTube account, because I think Link to the Past is only on their site, on the Game Informer site.
No, it's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's on YouTube, but it's not on YouTube by Game Informer. Somebody re-uploaded it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that.
Yeah. I want to say Link to the Past was like their 10th, and then Overblood was the first big one.
Well, yep, you're right. So Overblood was number 4. Link to the Past was 1, Resident Evil 2, and Super Mario Brothers 3 was 3.
Yeah. And then where did Tale of the Sun come into that mix? Was that 5? Or was that? I thought that was before Overblood 2.
It was 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
Yeah. There's a wiki for this, people, if you're interested.
Yes, there is. I don't know who in Overblood made that, but it's actually pretty accurate. It's pretty filled out.
Mm-hmm. So they did, let's see. So Overblood was 12/31 of 2010. So yep, Jesus. 10 years ago.
Jesus.
I mean, I got a funny thing. I've actually have never finished watching that entire replay. I got like maybe part 4 or so, and I just never bothered. I joined the group anyway so many years ago, and then all of a sudden that Facebook group became like a part somewhere I'm chatting in almost every single day.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It turns out Mike's a liar, and he didn't watch the entire Overblood Super Replay.
I never did. I never will.
I like how, too, that group, like the Overblood group on Facebook only exists because people were assholes. Because the whole point is, for those who don't know, for our few audience members that don't follow Game Informer,
there's a lot.
For a good amount of our audience that don't follow Game Informer, they do Super Replays, which are like a full playthrough of a game, uncut, everything that they do from beginning to end is in there. I think they stopped doing them recently, but they still do replays, and they're very funny and they're very fun and they're very great because everybody who writes for Game Informer generally knows games and can do some nice videos on it. But
yeah. So I was kind of curious if maybe we should all like just go through how we got into Overblood. Like,
sure. Let's describe the Overblood group first, because I think that's a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
Where originally they wanted to test to see like who, they being Game Informer, wanted to test to see who would watch like the entire series, and so they hid codes into all the episodes. Like, if you email them all the codes, they were going to do something for everybody, and then a bunch of assholes just started posting all the codes in the comments. And I don't remember who it was. I think I remember, but I don't want to attribute it to anybody wrongly. Somebody started a Facebook group called I Watched the Entire Overblood Super Replay in like as like a secondary form. That was like 10 years ago.
Yep.
And now there's like over 3,000 people in there, and It's like the only reason I'm on Facebook now.
Yeah. Some of the codes were just ridiculous too. Like Dan Reichert, who was an editor at Game Informer, would say, I want everyone to, the next code for this episode is Peepo, but with 8 O's, all
O's.
capital.
Which definitely wasn't my password for a long time on my computer. That'd be dumb. That would be stupid of me to admit that live on air.
That could actually be that could be a pin pad code too.
It could. People. Yes.
My ATM card is not whatever PIPO is.
So how did everybody get? I know how I got into Overblood. How did everybody else end up catching this weird fever?
Well, my involvement was that during the summer when I was going to school, I had literally nothing to do like everyone else that was young and had nothing to do. And I would go to Game Informer's website and like, I gotta say they were pretty damn hard working because every 20 minutes you could refresh it and it would show a new article or 2 new articles. And it's like, good God, who is making all these articles? And after doing that all summer long, finally they posted something called Replay. I was like, it's probably just a dumb Let's Play or whatever. I'm not gonna watch it. And then like by episode 10, I finally found the nerve to be like, all right, I'll check it out. And that's how I started watching Replay. And then eventually Overblood.
Okay, I'll go next. I have no memory of how I ended up in the group. Exactly. I know at one time my son would have been little 10 years ago. And I remember I was on my computer a lot off and on. And I was just liking different things, joining random things on Facebook back when Facebook was so freaking different. And I ended up in this group randomly. And I want to say it was years later when I really started interacting with them a lot more. And now I'm interacting with the group a lot.
It's really dumb that it's really interesting and dumb that we all watch this and now the 3 of us kind of like personally know several members from Game Informer.
Yeah.
It's really
we
stupid.
had one on this podcast, on this very podcast. Not too long ago.
It's great, but it's really stupid.
Well, I kind of stumbled into the group myself. I had a friend from high school who was in the group, and this was before it went private. So like a lot of his posts and stuff would pop up in my feed, and I was kind of interested. So I kind of ended up watching at least half of the Super Replay and then joining the group, but I made sure to watch the other half after.
Never.
Nice. I still remember some of the codes. I remember Wienerless Steve, Millie, Peepo with the 8 O's.
One was, the other 2 were Cinnamon and, oh God, what was the last one? I know the overall one was Afterburner. I can't remember what the beginning of episode 6 was. Maybe that was Cinnamon. Cinnamon was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Why was Cinnamon has nothing to do with this game?
I remember very clearly when I first saw Overload, because it was a very strange time in my life. So I'm gonna have to explain. 10 years ago, back in the old days of 2010, I very briefly, which I think this has come up before, very briefly did MLG tournaments for Left 4 Dead, which I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging about that. I did it and I was pretty good, and I had a team that was really tight knit. And so one of the, like, you know, there wasn't really a captain per se, but like one of the quote unquote captains was talking to me one day, and he was like, "Oh, hey, have you seen Game Informer's new thing?" And I'm an avid reader. I have a lot of Game Informers. I should have pulled out to see what the oldest one I have is. I think it's like 2003 or something. I still have a bunch of magazines. But he was like, "Hey, you like Game Informer? You should like check out this like Super Replay they're doing. It's for this stupid game. It's really weird." I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll check it out." And I think that was episode 2 when I jumped in. And I was one of those people that was like actively writing down and remembering the codes because I was like, "Oh, I might get my name in the magazine that I read every week." Super excited. It jumped in and everyone ruined it. And I was like, "Oh, that sucks." And someone was like, "Oh, there's a Facebook group." And so I joined the Facebook group. I went back and checked. I think I joined the Facebook group. When I joined, there were 150 people in it at that point.
Yeah. I think that's when I got in there, somewhere in there.
I'm early too, but I can't remember when.
I think I'm the 157th person in the group, which there's, like I said, there's over 3,000 people in there now. So we all were like really early in the boat.
Yeah. I'm not sure what number. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say there used to be a lot of very obscure or arbitrary rules for the group. Like When the first thing I posted in Overblood, they took down. It was like, oh, what do you guys like better, Sega or NES? And they're like, no console wars, man. Delete.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah,
but also the people that started that group are long gone, I want to say too, right?
mostly, yeah. I mean, some of them are still in it, but I mean, like I said, we've been in that group for like 10 fucking years at this point. A lot of people have moved on. There's still jokes about like some members who were like one member in particular who was like, "Oh, I'm done with Facebook and social media," and everyone still talks about him like he's some fucking myth.
Yeah.
Where'd he go? And when you have like a weird, it's like, I really love the group because it is this kind of tight knit community that's just existed together for 10 years. Like I know a lot of people are their best friends they found in that group, and it's one of those weird things when people are like, "Oh, the internet's ruining people." I was like, I know a community online that I really enjoy being a part of.
It's a very good group, and I've learned. I mean, hell, I met you guys for that group, and that's how this whole. I was actually inspired to start this podcast 10 years ago. Before I even knew what podcasts were, when I saw the replay video, I'm like, told myself, "All right, I'm going to do something like this one day," and then I never did. And I started. Then that's when what became this idea in the end.
Yeah, the Facebook post that Stefan and I responded to was in Overblood.
Yep, we got suckered in.
You enjoy it. All right. I think after we had give that introduction, to give you guys a little background of why the hell we're talking about a very unknown, unneed to be known survival horror game for PlayStation 1.
I think I disagree with you there, but I'll get to that.
Okay. So this game starts off. For one thing, it plays like tank controls, but it's weird tank controls. Like you can, one big part about this game is crouching. For some reason, you have to crouch and look at things all the damn time that don't make any sense.
Well, it's one of those, like, there was a string in the late 90s, early 2000s of, Resident Evil clones. And this was very much trying to capitalize on that, like, Resident Evil popularity.
Yeah. Me and Stefan were talking about this earlier. It's a weird list of things that they do where like some of they're advanced in some aspects or they are very ambitious, and then there's others where they just fall flat on their face that should have been easy things to solve. Items, for example, the item screen is a disorganized mess. You don't throw away things you've used in the game, so you just have this clusterfuck of just a whole trash bag full of things by the end, and you're like, "Where's my gun? Wait, I got to dig through these key cards and this trash and these key codes."
Stupid.
Sure. Raz Carsey has very deep pockets.
The first one was all programmed by one guy, which I find impressive.
Overblood?
Yeah.
Overblood was programmed by one guy,
Wow.
Akihiro Hino, who is better known for working on like to us he's best known for working on Overblood and Overblood 2. But he's better known in the general sense he's the president and CEO of Level 5. Yeah, so he is like he was the programmer and writer for the Dark Cloud games. He's the like designer for all the Professor Layton games, a bunch of Ni no Kuni games, like Yokai Watch. Like the guy knows what he's doing. The guy knows game design.
That is a hardworking dude.
Yeah, it's really funny to me that like this dude that like I was always aware of Akihiro growing up. Like I knew who he was and I knew Overblood, and I don't think I knew he was the one who designed it until I was like watching somebody else play it again one day. While I was watching Game Informer play it again one day, and it got to the credits and I saw Akihiro, and I was like, holy shit, I know that guy. Oh my god, he's the guy who made this.
Well, that explains a lot.
Oh, there are a couple of things for sure. This says over Resident Evil, like fully 3D environments. Like I think it did that before Resident Evil finally started getting in the kick of that. And the zapping system that they didn't really utilize until RE0, because you could bounce back and forth between Raz and Peepo, and I think Raz and Millie at some point.
Yep.
Who we should say, Raz Carsey is the main protagonist of this game. He's a guy who's in a blue jumpsuit wearing an orange vest.
Not at first.
And he looks just like Barry Burton.
Yeah.
First you wake up and you're freezing to death. And he's like, "It's cold in here." And a little health bar pops up.
And I know
and it's like, and I tried doing it like, okay, I'm like, cause I hadn't seen the replay in years, but I had to remember this opening. So I'm going through and I'm trying to find the switch. And I'm like, I know it's over here somewhere, but if you don't kneel down and hit the button, nothing happens. And if you don't do that and then check out a certain door and open up and put a vest on, because a vest is going to save your life when you're freezing to death, you're not going to make it. Such a weird ass game.
Yeah. And Resident Evil, like something, if like an item was in a room, it would shine a little bit to let you know it was there. In this game,
it would also be present, like you would see the item in the world.
In this game, you cannot see anything. You just have to click on everything.
Not click, you have to crouch and then click.
Sometimes crouch and click too, yes.
If you click on something, the game says, oh, there's something here. But if you crouch, it goes, oh yes, there's this like vital item to my survival that I need, or else I can't save, or I can't heal, or I can't continue on because there's a puzzle piece that is only accessible if you're crouching. It's real dumb.
A whole button dedicated to the crouch.
I mean, everything. Like you can't, like this game has a fighting system where you can punch and kick, but it only pops up in the situations where you need it. Otherwise, it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is weird, but I also want to give Hino credit for being like trying to create this separate like world where it's or trying to create this like more intricate world. I don't know, that might be giving him too much credit to be like, oh, obviously you have to crouch down to pick up something off the ground. But I felt like there was something there where it's like, oh yeah, this thing is, I mean, this is the guy who did Professor Layton. Like this guy is puzzled in the brain constantly. So I feel like that was his like answer to creating a more puzzling world. Oh, you shouldn't just be able to like grab this thing. You should have to crouch and grab this thing because that makes it a puzzle, quote unquote.
Yeah, the games of the 90s were definitely like, I mean, it's still kind of a trope. It carries through. There's like, you must do this, click that. You got to put the puzzle piece in here and make the fountain spurt blood. And it's just a Rube Goldberg machine of terrible things that shouldn't actually lead to one another.
It's one of those things that we still haven't quite gotten over in gaming. Like, fuck, I don't
think it's ever going to go away.
There's a goddamn quest in Red Dead Redemption 2 where you need to get like a harmonica for somebody, and you can find a guy with a harmonica, but the game doesn't recognize his harmonica as a harmonica. You have to go find one specifically somewhere else. It's like we still haven't gotten over that. Like, things make sense in games. Dumb. There's still a dumb video game logic there.
Yeah, that is kind of dumb. That would irritate me.
I actually got the name for so outside of this, I do graphic design, and I got the name of my graphic design company because of Overblood, which I call myself. I'll call my design company Level 7 Designs, and I got that from Akihiro Hino, who is the president of Level 5 Designs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was sitting in class one day, and there was a professor going basically it was a web design class. It was like they were trying to teach us how to make our own website, and she was going on about how it's important to buy it, like get a website domain and spend a lot of time thinking on it. And I randomly, like, she was trying to explain how it works, and I had kind of done a little bit of web design previously. And so while she was talking, I pulled out my phone and went to a registration site and bought level7designs.com. And I was like, all right, I'm good. I got it. Was it the first project? First project done. She just bought a website. I was like, yeah. She's like, right here in class? I was like, yeah. She's like, you found the one you wanted? I was like, yeah, I found a pretty good one. She's like, oh, okay. I should point out there's nothing on that site right now, but I have that site now.
Coming soon.
Yeah, eventually. Hopefully by the end of this this semester, I'll have my site up.
There you go.
I need to work on more shit to put up on there.
Yeah.
All right. Also, like with this game, it's just, as we already mentioned early on, you run into a little robot, which we've been referencing already for the last 15 minutes we've been doing this. It's called, or 20 minutes. It's called People. He's a thing. I'm trying to think how to describe him. It's just a little robot with a crane looking head.
He's got a wrench on his head.
Okay, like a wrench on his head that just rolls around, and it's one of the things you can control and use him to get into vents and get into other places.
I always liked how Tim Torrey. I like how Tim Terry from Game Informer described the robot, where he said it's the Jurassic Park arm that turns over the dinosaur eggs, because that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it looks like. Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to reference the Overblood Super Replay 100 times, because that is that's like my go-to video series. If my power goes out, I have Overblood 1 and 2. The super replays are both saved on my phone in case the power goes out, so I've got something to do. Or if I don't have internet, I can watch something still.
Wow. People actually had a voice actor, by the way. I found that out today.
Oh, really? Who was the voice actor?
Frank Welker, like the guy who's done Scooby-Doo and he's been a voice in like millions of other things. He was Peepo.
What the fuck?
Wow. That is really bizarre.
Because Peepo just like beeps. That's all he does. It's kind of like when you find out like Bill Hader voiced BB-8 and you're like, what? Okay, sure.
Just whistling in the booth.
Yeah. I think when Bill, I watched some interview where he was talking about how he did the voice for BB-8 and J.J. Abrams essentially just contacted him and was like, hey, just take your phone out and be like, make like a bunch of robot noises into it. And that's how they made all the BB-8 sounds.
Real professional.
Yeah.
3 movies worth.
And that's why I love Bill Hader. The best cameo that no one knew was a cameo. That's really, I did not know. That's insane that Frank Welker did Peepo. I wonder if there was, did he do both Peepos or was he the American Peepo and there was a Japanese Peepo too?
He was the American Peepo. There was apparently a Japanese one. I didn't catch their name before I got off IMDb. But
I hope it was the guy who did the Japanese Scooby-Doo. Just to keep it consistent.
One thing
it's weird now. Sorry.
No, you're good. One thing I do want to say about this game is once I started to understand the controls, like I didn't absolutely hate it. Like, even though it's very weird, it doesn't have a lot of, like, you do get into some fights in this game, but a lot of this game is just exploring the area that you're in, finding a key card or finding some random item in some random drawer that you would have never looked in a regular game because this is a PlayStation 1 era and you can't see anything. But it was slightly interesting. It was an actually decent story.
Yeah, it's really weird because Raz has this ability to want to push everything if you get really close to it. So
and then
when he pushes things, he puts up his fingers like he's what was it, Nixon?
Yeah, just the Nixon.
Yeah, he's like, I'm catering to hippies, you know.
I am not a crook.
Well, I'm gonna push the crooks.
Meet my new friend Peepo.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that we should reference, the reason why we said Wienerless Steve earlier, when you first wake up from the Cairo chambers, or early on in that scene, you check the computer and it shows Raz Carsey, and for some reason he has nothing there. He has no dick. Yeah, and that's like the joke of why he's Wienerless Steve. In case
he's a
eunuch. So he's a guy from Game of Thrones.
I like how we have to continuously apologize. Be like, yeah, like all of our like references to this game are Game Informer playing.
Yeah.
And so they call him Wienerless Steve, and so we call him Wienerless Steve. And I like how the whole reason Peepo is named Peepo is because you find this little robot in the second room of the game, which has like all of the shit that's super easy to miss. Like there's a vest in there that keeps you from freezing to death. You literally pick it up and go, great, now I won't freeze to death.
Yeah.
It's the voice recorder.
Game's over.
The Mito Mola memory chip and the little robot. You put the chip in and it goes, Peepo, Peepo, Peepo. And it's like, I'll call you Peepo.
Yeah.
That little chip that's like quintessential to the end of the game.
I got the voice. I like how Frank Welker does the voice of the robot that doesn't speak English. And then the guy who plays Raz is like an American actor that you would not recognize if you saw him.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's weird because I hear his voice. I always remember it's like, oh yeah, it's the cowboy from Indian in the Cupboard or the dad from Firestarter.
Yeah, but like no offense to David Keith. It's just that he is not going to like, it wasn't in anything. You would not recognize him, especially today. Like he was in, I would say he was like a C-list actor, maybe a B-list actor in the 90s. And then just like today, he's might as well be dead.
Well, it doesn't help that he gets confused all the time with Keith David. So
yeah,
might as well be dead.
I mean, what the last thing he was in was like, I think he's got a recurring role in like the Hawaii Five-0 show, which I mean, I'm sure is popular. But I don't know. I think it got canceled last year, or no, maybe it's still going. I don't know because I don't watch it, and I don't know anybody that does watch it.
Oh God! As the only actor here, this hurts my soul.
I know you're the star for Hawaii Five-0. Sorry.
I didn't know. I just found out. What the fuck?
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, I just got hired for Hawaii 5-0. Oh, it's canceled. You didn't know that? I think it's still. I assume it's still going. I mean, you know what? Daniel Day Kim is in it. I like him, but I don't know anybody else in it, and I've never talked to anybody who watches it. I think it's one of those. Again, this is gonna be like. This is gonna sound kind of putting it down, but I think it's one of those like mom shows. I would describe it as like any show on like TNT, like Blue Bloods. I think Blue Bloods is like a mom show.
What channel is it on? It's probably like CBS or NBC or something.
It has 10 seasons.
Old people.
It has 10 seasons?
Yep. And it's still right now, they're on season 9, episode 15. It aired on 1/17, so it's still on.
Okay, see, this is one of the goddamn mom shows need to die. Well, I guess the moms need something to watch. Like NCIS. NCIS is going forever, and NCIS is a total mom show. I think everyone knows what I talk about when I say NCIS is a mom show. That's
yes.
Only moms watch it. Gee, I cannot believe Hawaii 5-0 has been going on for almost 10 seasons now. Jesus.
Yep, started in 2010.
That's scary.
That's the real mystery here.
All right, so speaking more about Overblood, there's one stupid puzzle early on in this game that I vaguely remember, but you walk up to like an area you have to climb up. So you have like a 2-foot gap or something. And if you don't crouch, examine, find a key card, and then try to climb, you can't climb it for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
just like when you go to that area, you do the typical video game, like oh, such destruction. I can't believe it. What happened here? It's just the typical video game bad writing. Like it's in every Silent Hill.
Oh man, I think in this game my favorite puzzle has to be I forget what it's called. It's like the gravity something you have to get.
The gravity statue or the gravity controller?
Yeah, the gravity controller. And you okay, so here's what happened to me because I just thought items worked in this game. Apparently they don't. No. You have to manage your inventory very well in this game. And what I mean by that is there's a part where Raz Karsi sees this huge hole in the floor and he has to jump over it.
Yeah.
And I assume
you have a jump button.
Yeah, and you have a jump button, and I assumed that he was just going to jump over it because now he had the gravity controller or whatever. No, he jumped and he went right into the middle of it. Ah!
Oh, yeah. You got to talk about his death noise.
I was like, okay. I died.
Overblood has the best death rattle of all time in any video game.
So, yeah.
I'm going to yell now. It's just a word of warning to everybody. When you die in this game, in like any other game, you'll go like, ah, ugh. In Overblood, it is like a full force, brah! It's so much louder than everything else.
It really does sound like he's saying brap.
Like, and then the end screen is just you are dead, blood.
Like Resident Evil, but worse.
Yeah, it's like a parody of Resident Evil. That's what the game feels.
So like Resident Evil's the Hollywood film, and this is the sci-fi movie of the week, sci-fi channel movie of the week.
Yeah. This is like the I don't even want to give it credit for being like Mega Shark, but it's like this is the Sci-Fi Channel's Mega Shark to the Meg when that came out. Like, it's just riding off the coattails and being like, yeah, we can make movies too. But again, I hate saying that because like there's so much interesting stuff that they tried to do in this game, and the sequel, which I'll try to avoid talking about in case we ever play it in the future.
We will.
Oh, you mean Bizarro Final Fantasy VII?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say that. I'll just say that right now. As much as this game is attempting to be a clone of Resident Evil, Overblood 2 is the complete opposite. It's trying to be a clone of Final Fantasy, and it's so odd, but I kind of love that it did that.
I'm sad.
You have my attention now. Have you not watched the other?
I've never watched Overblood Super Replay 2. Of course I haven't. I mean, watched the first one. What do you think I am?
The problem with this episode is more than any other episode, I'm so excited to talk about this game. I'm just trying not to cut everybody off constantly.
Oh, man.
Oh, so as you were talking about the anti-gravity device, there's a part where you go into a room, that looks like it's right out of Resident Evil, like it could fit inside Resident Evil 1, kind of. And there's a statue floating. If you examine the statue, it might tell. I'm not sure what it said. I didn't examine it. I just did what the guy told me to do. But you have to crouch down, take off this device, and then you can push the statue.
No, you have to push the statue first. That's very important.
Okay, that's how you die then. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Okay, I pushed the statue, then I examined it.
See, this is why you need to watch the Super Replay, Mike, because in the actual Super Replay, if anyone goes and watches this, they actually couldn't figure out how to save their game. So when they got to the statue, they actually killed themselves by pushing it on themselves, or no? They removed the gravity device and it fell on top of them.
It fell on them and killed them. It's the best. It's like my favorite moment in this series because it's just all four of them going, "What the fuck? What?" There's a voice recorder in the second room of the game, which looks like it legit looks like a
found it.
What'd you say? You didn't find it?
I never found it in this playthrough. I missed it completely.
Did you really? So you couldn't save the game? Oh well, I guess you could save the game.
Come on now. Come on.
But
I saved just 5. But
oh gosh,
I thought it was in the same box as the Mitamola memory chip. I thought you had to get it.
I believe it is in the same. It's in the same area.
It's in the same box as the vest. That's why that's how they missed it in the Super Replay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never got it.
I actually beat this because I watched the Super Replay so much. This is like one of my go-to things to watch on YouTube. Like I said, I beat this game in 2 hours.
It's a short game. You know what you're doing.
I knew exactly what to do. It's just like, okay, go here, do this, push the statue over. Yeah, you got to push the statue over. It's a floating Greco-Roman statue, and if you don't push it over first, then it falls on you and you die. And it's completely it's so unexplained and so strange.
Mm-hmm. It's almost kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the ceiling coming down in the first Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's the same like type of moment that they're going for. It's what I see. You just like this game is kind of like a Resident Evil 2 clone, but in so many ways, I don't want to say it's like a bad sci-fi movie because this is kind of like to me this is
movie.
No, to me this is one of those movies that's like so bad it's good. Where it's not actually bad, it's just weird in the right ways to make it seem bad and still be like really enjoyable.
So it's kind of like if Resident Evil was Jaws, then this would be Deep Blue Sea.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Although, yeah,
I still feel like that's being way too generous to Overblood there. Damn.
This is Sharknado then? I don't know.
I think Overblood.
Okay, that's being too unfair to Overblood now.
I think Overblood is the Trolls 2 of games.
Yeah, I'm gonna start.
Yeah, there we go. That's
I think it's the Trolls 2 of games, or like the Room of games, where it's got all the elements of what makes up a game, but they're all wrong. But they all work. Like they're wrong, but they still work somehow. It's got that same charm to it as a bad movie, as a good bad movie.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I have no idea what you guys are referencing right now.
Watch Trolls 2.
Yes.
Don't watch Trolls 2, but watch Trolls 2. Especially with somebody.
I'm never gonna watch Trolls 2.
Oh my god! I love bad movies.
You could probably just
spam you with clips now.
Thanks, Raz. You're my favorite customer.
Just go to YouTube and type in "Oh my god, Trolls 2" and you can watch that.
I don't even know what Trolls 2 even is.
Oh my god! You don't know what Trolls 2 is? Oh man, that. Oh god, yeah. See, that we're gonna talk. That's gonna be an episode. I almost.
You talking about? Okay, you're not talking about what I just looked up then.
What'd you look up?
One with Anna Kendrick, which is not what you're talking about.
Anna Kendrick.
Oh no, yeah, it's not pluralized. It's just Troll 2.
Oh, are you talking about the you're talking about like the Trolls? Yeah. You're talking about like the 2016 movie. That's what you looked up. Yeah, like
there's a sequel coming.
Yeah, it's like Anna Kendrick was in Trolls too. Jeez, I never knew that.
Ironically, also has cannibalism in it, but that's not the one you're looking for.
Yeah. We're not talking about Trolls World Tour, which is a movie that is coming out for some reason.
Terrible.
Trolls 2, the 1990 film, which has nothing to do with the original Trolls. It should not exist. I don't know why it exists, but it's so bad and so good.
Somebody should do a musical of that.
Oh Jesus!
One song should just be called "Oh My God."
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's a troll. He's gonna eat me.
It's just one sustained note. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's the harmony. That's how they end the harmony song at the end. Everybody's singing all together, and they all come together. Oh my god!
You gotta pay the troll toll to get into this boys' hole.
Gotta pay the troll toll to get in.
Oh,
We're going on an adventure to Nilbog.
So, speaking of Overblood, so this game is full of instant death traps all over the place, which are annoying. Especially, I mean, I was fine because I just hit a button, I save instantly, but it does fill a lot of them. Like if we were talking about with the jumping, there are parts you have to walk across a pipe. And one time I was running, oh my god, they probably got an invisible wall. Nope, there's no invisible. I heard fell down the hole, and it's just interesting. Like, I mean, usually you're not in a situation where you're never being chased by anything or where you have to rush. Mm-hmm. It depends on how you want to play, but there are holes and you can fall in every single one of them. You can jump. He's a weird jump, but as we were talking, as Stefan mentioned earlier, a long time ago before the trolls, when you jump, you have to take this item. You have to select the item, and then he'll jump after you select the item. It makes no sense. It's just a very weird gamey thing that shouldn't be there.
How does that jump look? You hold your hand. You hold both hands straight up in the air, stiffen up, and it's like a kid playing with a toy. You just like bounce from one end to the other.
Mm-hmm. Throw your hands in the air if you're wienerless and just don't care.
It's the Superman pose, but perpendicular to how you're flying. It's wrong. It's the Superman pose, but wrong.
But so right.
And you use it multiple times in this game too.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should explain the structure of this too, because if anyone has played Resident Evil and you go through the mansion, every single room looks like it's so specific.
Yes.
Like the tile looks a certain way. The windows look different from the room before it. Everything looks like its own thing. In this game, each hallway looks identical. Like you could get lost so easy if you don't know where the hell you're going. And on top of that, there are even weird rooms where, like, there's one room where you go into the door, you go down some stairs to a lower level where there's nothing there. And there's another set of stairs 5 feet away that you go up to another door. It's the most obscure room I've ever seen in all of video games.
It is so dumb.
Yes. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Why didn't they just build a bridge?
Jesus, I just looked up the cast for Overblood to see who like the Japanese cast was. And the guy who played Peepo in the Japanese version is not an insignificant voice actor. He played a number of characters in Sailor Moon.
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Tuxedo Mask.
He played Sailors. I guess it was a girl. She played Sailor Starfighter, which is like one of the other Sailor group members that exist in that series.
Hasn't Mike sung Sailor Moon on the show before?
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah, I think I have as well. She was in Jesus, the chick. God damn it! This actually, I don't know if this makes me angry or like I'm impressed or just confused. That is like the quintessential Overblood experience. I don't know if I'm angry or depressed or confused. But the chick who played Peepo was also in Perfect Blue, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
No way! Who did she play in that?
Ray. I think Ray is one of the other Idol members. I want to say.
Yeah. Okay.
And she was in Agent Ica. Not insignificant voice actors.
Wow.
Who Mimi? The chick who played Millie is like top billed. Who was she? Oh. The chick who played Millie in the Japanese version also like a significant voice actress in her own right. She was oh my god, seriously? The fucking hell. The chick who plays Millie in the Japanese version of this game plays Kaguya in Naruto, who's like the final big bad villain.
Oh wow.
She plays Queen Serenity in Sailor Moon. Another big bad villain. She's Charlotte in One Piece. What the fuck?
Okay. Things you didn't know you come the games my mom found for.
I was just waiting for you to say that, Mike.
Yeah. Sorry, okay. It's very confusing.
I'm very confused why I picked this game.
Very dramatic celebrity scale compared to the American cast, I think.
compared to
I mean, the voice acting is bad in this game. Maybe not as bad as Resident Evil, but it's not that great.
The voice actress for Raz is Rod Reese in Attack on Titan. One of the most popular anime out right now. And he was also in Overblood.
Okay, so as the game progresses, you do get to a point. I think. Oh yeah, you get to the saddest moment in gaming. You get attacked by a couple mutants, or you get attacked by a mutant, and your little robot friend that's been running along with you for the last 30 minutes or so, maybe an hour tops, because this game is not that long.
In terms of the game, Peepo is with you. Like in terms of the game's timeline, Peepo is with you for about 40 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe
like a fourth of the game, I would say.
Yeah,
he's still the most memorable character.
We're talking about for those who haven't played the game, we're talking about a little robot that has helped you solve 2 puzzles. And I'm trying to think, does it help you solve? It only helps you solve 1 puzzle, really. You only you need people to get through a door. And then you need Peepo to prevent you from dying at another door. And that's all Peepo is really there for, is for those 2 doors. You're with this robot for 40 minutes. You don't know who you are. It's essentially like a dog that has followed you around. And this robot is the most memorable and lovable character in the franchise.
I don't know if I call this a franchise, but I guess there are 2
Name
games.
1 character from Overblood 2.
I never even played Overblood 2 yet, or even seen it.
If I asked anybody who's played or watched Overblood 1 and 2 to name 1 character from both series, Peepo would be the first character they name every single time. Somebody might say Raz, but Peepo would be the answer 95% of the time.
I don't even think they'd remember Raz's name. They'd just be like, Dickless Dave. And it's like, no, damn it.
Peepo has no lines of dialogue. It just beeps at you. But it's one of those things where it's something about the design of that robot is so strong. It's so clear where it's yes, I recognize this character. This character makes sense to me.
It's Frank Welker's best role, clearly.
It is, yeah.
I also want to say, was I right? Is that the first mutant you run across? Is when during that whole scene?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes. Well, we should say it looks like a mutant, but it also looks like you.
Yes, it's wearing a blue.
I didn't put that together.
Really?
So just now. So you see these mutants in the place that all have green skin. They're all scaly. They look like they've been dipped in acid, and they have an infection. But they are wearing the same jumpsuit you're wearing without the orange vest.
Yeah, they've got the blue bodysuit on, and
they never found the vest.
They also have you see one before this. To be fair, you see one.
Oh, you see a dead one.
Yeah, you go to an elevator in the game because you're on sub-basement 3 or something, and you're trying to get up and out of this lab. The only thing your goal at this point is just kind of figure out what's going on. This is what you say, this is like a 4-hour game, and the first 3 hours are just kind of figuring out what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, because we didn't even explain it, but when you start the game as Raz, you wake up in a pod that kind of if anyone's ever seen Alien or Aliens, it's like those sleeping pods.
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah. So he doesn't know what's going on, and he has no idea who he is.
Yeah, you wake up with amnesia. Classic trope in a video game.
Resident Evil ripped this off for Gun Survivor, apparently.
I like the audio in this game is so poorly mixed that you can barely hear Raz speak. And so, if you listen closely, he's going on and on about I don't know who. God, it's so hard to do his voice. His voice is so bad. Where he's I don't know who I am. Where am I? What is this place? And you go to this computer and it's stasis meant to last for eternity. And you're like, eternity? I was never going to get out of here. And it's yeah, dude, you're figuring it out. Good for you. You feel I feel bad. I like Peepo. I just feel pity for Raz. It's not even bad. It's just pity. I pity this character who seems completely lost and just so dumb.
Well,
oh my God, I'm a stock sci-fi main character. Ah!
It's just so weird too, because it's every scene in this game is mixed with 1970s porn music. So it's just it just gives you such a weird vibe when anything emotional is going on.
And the story beats are all over the place. Like it's just nothing makes sense in the writing. Like you go to this elevator with Peepo and you open the door and a zombie falls out of it somehow. I guess it was propped up against the elevator door, falls out and hits the ground like a fucking ironing board. And you're looking down at it and like touching it and shit. And you notice you've got the infection on your arm and you're like, oh no, I'm becoming like monster. The zombies like nothing makes sense because it's like my brain says, okay, this is a Resident Evil game. Like this is trying to be a Resident Evil game. So these are zombies, but they don't look like zombies. They look like mutants and they have like metallic skulls that are kind of like it's like their skin is coming off and they've got like metallic skulls underneath their skin. So it's like they're like Terminator zombies. Mm-hmm. That's the part of the game where I think it shines in its weird and like ambitious badness. Where like, okay, this game is bad. It's a Resident Evil clone, but it's trying to do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sums it up, I think. Like I said, it's very ambitious.
Ambitious badness is should be the title for this game.
Hand-to-hand combat, not something you think you'd see in a survival horror game at this era, and it's just like, nope, I'm gonna get in a fist fight with this zombie.
Like out the first zombie, you don't even get into a fist fight with. The first zombie encounter is scripted. Well, the first zombie encounter, the first one's dead. The second one is scripted. So this is a 4-hour game, and you don't fight a zombie until like the hour half, 2-hour mark.
Yeah, you use a vibro blade. It's like a laser knife. Yeah, to like basically stab it, and then you literally just don't have that weapon anymore.
Yeah, you never get it back.
Who wants to take on the burden of explaining what happens to Peepo?
I'll do it. Okay. So Peepo jumps on this mutant thing, grabs it with his neck that extends like a giraffe for some weird reason, and he ends up getting like thrown against a wall by the mutant.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dies, and then you have a whole scene. He's like, Peepo!
Oh my god!
So like this is a little. You have no memory. You're just some guy who woke up. You find this little robot that's helping you, and you're crying over like you just lost the love of your life.
You're with it for 40 minutes, and this is the scene in the game that makes it go from this is a bad game to this might be the best thing I've ever played. Because it's like a dead scene on par with like a 90s movie. Like it could be like straight out of like E.T. or something, where like E.T. is sick and dying, and like the kids are like, "Don't go, E.T. We love you." It's that level of like cheesy, like over the top emotion, but for a robot that you don't know, that you can't speak to, you know nothing about. It's like, Peepo, don't go. I need you, Peepo. Peepo.
It even does one of those like camera pull away shots where it's like, no.
You see the light in the robot's eye fade. Like it's played with all the seriousness of like the end of T2. Like it's Arnold Schwarzenegger going into the lava, but it's a robot that you don't know. That cannot
beep,
talk.
Beep, 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 beep. I now know why you cry. Beep, beep, beep. But I cannot help you with that.
I would put it in my top 10 favorite death scenes. I think I'd put it right. I'd put it right ahead of the end of Blade Runner. The monologue with Rutger Hauer.
Oh my god.
It's this game's version of Tears in the Rain. It's so beautiful and so weird, and it makes no sense.
Now I'm just imagining that speech in Peeponese. Just beep 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 beep. Tears lost in the rain.
I want to do an edit now. Of Peepo dying, and then every now and then every time it cuts back to Raz, it's just Harrison Ford staring. It's like full, like wide-eyed stare, just completely engulfed in his robot's beeping.
Okay. So after Peepo dies, because this game tends to give you a lot of times two characters, you end up running into another human inside this large base that the research center that you're inside. Mm-hmm. You end up meeting Millie or Mindy?
Yeah, Millie.
Yeah, that's right.
Millie? Okay.
You actually try to save her.
Yeah.
You're trying to save her, and she's playing like, oh, I don't know who I am either. And then there's a few different parts when there's monologue where she knows kind of who she is. Like she remembers certain things.
It's so obvious. Yeah. she's like every dialogue bit she has is like one of the first things you say to her is you're so distraught throughout the entire game. The rest of the game, you are so distraught about this robot's death, which you pull the memory chip out of the robot because you need it for later. So it's not really dead. It's like it's mechanical device. So you still have Pipo in your pocket. It's not dead. It's just, it's just stored on memory at this point.
I remember having my pocket Pipo in the 90s. Those were fun.
I almost made a memory chip that said Mita Mola on it and made like a keychain. I might still do that, to be fair, because it's a very easy thing to do. I might make myself a Mita Mola memory chip keychain so that I always have a little Pipo with me.
Oh God, Overblood would go nuts.
I'm gonna have to do it now. I've said it on the podcast, and people from Overblood listen to this, so they're gonna hold me to that. Hold me to that, Overblood, and I will do it. As soon as I'm done with this project, that's gonna take me like 3 fucking months that I'm working on right now. That'll be my next thing.
Put in back orders.
Yeah, I'll do a Kickstarter if you want your own Pipo Mita Mola memory chip keychain. But yeah, the first thing you say to Millie is like, one of the first things you say to her is like, oh, like we wouldn't have this problem if Pipo was here. And she's like, who's Pipo? Who's that? And you're like, oh, the little robot friend that I met. And she's like, oh, you must be talking about SR-19. I'm like, SR, what do you say? And she's like, oh, nothing. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the local station sex toy. Just pay no attention to it.
All of her dialogue is so odd. Like, she's so bad at hiding what it's the same dialogue as like a bad movie. It's the same dialogue out of like The Room. Like somebody's trying to hide something. They're just like, oh, like you must mean this obvious project. And you're like, what? And she's like, oh, I excuse me, sorry, I said nothing.
It's like how Wesker wasn't evil from the beginning.
Yeah,
Wesker's not the bad guy.
I find this game hits those Resident Evil notes really well too. Where every Resident Evil game is kind of like that. You start the game and you've got your buddy with you. Like Resident Evil 1, you've got Barry with you for a little bit, and then like he keeps coming to help you, and then you get split up and you're alone for a while, and then you'll meet like Rebecca later on or something. That's 2 different campaigns. I know. Don't fucking get mad at me. But
so
I say it's like
so
Resident Evil 2.
angry.
Resident Evil 2, you have Marvin.
Marvin.
He's in one part and then dies.
He's a pretty good part of Resident Evil 2. He's like with you for a while. He's not with you, but he's like helping you.
Don't talk smack about Will Smith, cop. That's not nice.
Will Smith cop does the best he can. And then you're alone for a while, and then like you start coming across Claire again and Ada. And so you've got a partner again. It's that same Resident Evil like formula of you have a partner and then you're alone and then you have a partner again for the rest of the game.
Even right down to the romance in this game, it pretty much has Leon and Ada vibes. I know I've only known you a short amount of time, but I've really grown to care about you.
Yeah, you've known Billy for as much time as you've known Pipo. And immediately you fall in love. I feel bad for Razkarsi because he can never go anywhere. Like I sometimes will go to I'll sometimes go to like Starbucks with somebody, or like I'll go sit down and get some food. Like imagine every time you go to a restaurant and sit down to eat. Like I go to a sushi place all the time near my school that I fucking love. I love this sushi place. I go there like once a week. I sit down. I usually eat there for about 40 minutes. If I was Razkarsi, I would fall in love with every single waitress, every single sushi chef, anybody that was sitting next to me. I would fall deeply, tragically in love with them by the time I was done eating sushi and going back to class.
It's okay. They're used to it. It happens often.
Every time, yeah. I mean, I love my sushi chef. Don't get me wrong, but it's more for his food than his personality.
Can you make me another California roll?
I wouldn't have this
stop
problem.
looking at me like that.
Yeah, just drooling up. It's just as soon as I sit down, just like the anime heart eyes. Oh, thank you so much. Just calm down, dude. It's just ginger. Could I have more soy sauce?
Remind me never to put another replay game on this show. All right, another thing, as the game progresses, I mean, there were a couple parts, and I was actually, since I never watched the replay, I was actually getting interested in the story. Like I found me like I beat this game I played most of it in a day. I just sat down, just kept plugging through it, and I was having a decent time. And I was surprised and confused.
The concept of it is really interesting.
Well, I gotta give it credit.
Somebody say something.
Go ahead. Sorry.
As the story's progressing, you're starting to realize more and more. Like you know you're infected. It takes him a long ass time to realize that Millie knows more than she's letting on.
God.
There's one
it takes him
really
a long
dumb
time
puzzle.
To realize Millie is letting on. It's not even more than she's letting on. She's letting everything on.
He's an idiot.
He's a fucking moron.
So there's one really dumb puzzle that I knew kind of. I mean, I had in my guide, but I also remember. I think Game Informer had problems with this too, where you get to an elevator and the elevator shakes, but you have to pick up an explosive chemical. And you have to oil the elevator. If you don't oil the elevator, you get back on, it shakes, and you blow up. But if you run, that's not a problem. But only if the elevator shakes. It's just one of these dumb puzzles that didn't need to be in this game.
I like that puzzle. The solution to it should have been more simple than it was, because the whole point of the puzzle is like it's set up very well. From a game design standpoint, it's set up very well. You get on an elevator and it's like shaking on the way down, and you pick up you go to a box and open it with a key card that you picked up earlier. It's using a puzzle piece from earlier. It's using a reward from earlier to open a box right after this puzzle, or this elevator. Sorry, and it's immediately says this item will explode if heated or shaken. And so it's one of those great telegraphed things in a game where you go, I can't pick this up because that elevator is shaking. I like the setup for this puzzle a lot. I think that's one of those things where there's like good game design hidden in here, like immediately followed by it's that. I think that's what makes this game so great in my mind, is that it's good setups, it's great game design setups followed by the stupidest solution. So yeah, you know exactly, you think you know exactly what to do, but the solution is so dumb of you have to go around and search this room. But you can't just search the room. You have to be crouching to search the room, or else you can't find the oil that you need for like 5 more puzzles.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what keeps the game interesting to me, because it's like I know whatever puzzle I come across next is going to set itself up very well, but then the solution will be so dumb that it's like, it's funny.
And
yeah, 90s for you.
Yeah. It's just like The Room. The Room as a concept is like, it seems like it's a very simple movie, a very obvious movie to understand. Like, girl cheats on guy, and the guy is like, it's just all about the fallout of a relationship. But then the actual execution of it is the worst thing ever.
Well, yeah, it's a classic story told through a very, very warped lens.
Yeah. It's good concepts and bad design. Like I always want to find those games out there that are like the perfect bad movie games. I really like bad games, but it's I think the threshold for what makes a bad game a good bad game is much higher than what makes a bad movie a good bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good bad movies because for a long time movies were really easy to make for everybody, and game design it isn't. I'm sure we will get to a point where like 100 years from now there'll be so many games that there'll be a lot to choose from. Right now I don't know if there's really that many good bad games out there, or if they're out there they just haven't quite been discovered yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always waiting for that. I'm always waiting for the good bad games to be discovered.
Like Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
that was a good bad game.
That was a great bad game. That was actually really
for
fun.
NES. We should specify.
I don't know if I'd classify Parasite even that or not, because Parasite Eve is also just like a good game.
It's a good game.
It's just so weird.
Yeah.
That's just a very good game. But okay, back to Overblood.
Wow, I don't like very.
There's a couple parts. Like one we had mentioned a little bit, you have combat in this game, which is mostly punching and kicking, but you do get a gun, you do get ammo, but the gun system is really strange. You have to open your inventory, scroll through all the items while you're being attacked, pick up the gun, start shooting. It's very not good. But there is a scene where a mutant
pause.
Yeah, there's no pause. Like, I mean, there's a pause, but the menu doesn't pause it.
There's a pause, and then there's a menu button, and those are two separate things that cannot be used at the same time.
Yeah.
And the only way to activate your gun is if you're in combat, so you can't reload outside of combat, Resident Evil style.
Which is stupid too.
It's real dumb.
But
I mean, it was programmed by one guy, so we do have to. Yeah, we have to give him credit.
Impressive.
I'll give him credit because
there is a scene. Okay,
go, Mike. Go. Say your piece.
Okay, there's a scene where you get into a room with Millie, where you get attacked by a mutant, and because you're trying to get decontaminated because you're infected with the virus, and a mutant attacks you. I want to say knocks you out or starts, and then she drags you through a door. And that's when I was getting really invested in these characters. Like, I don't know why. I mean, this is not a good game, but I was like, this is kind of interesting. I kind of enjoying myself right now. And, that's when I realized, like, the story starts getting very interesting. Like, they're giving you bits and pieces of what's going on. And you also, in the background, have this guy talking to another person in a dark meeting room. Oh, yeah. Like, I love Mindy. She's the love of my life. Mindy. That guy is going to hurt her. And
I love Mindy.
I mean, like, I said it wrong. I know.
Billy,
but it got me. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It got me interested.
There's 2 characters in this game, and I can't remember one of them.
It was a long time ago. It's been a long week. It's been a really long week here in Minnesota.
But yeah, they're silhouette like characters. Like literally, you can't see their faces. They're in the shadow, but there's a light on in between them, but they're not in the light. So it's just like a very X-Files thing, like FBI questioning you type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is clear is that it's a guy and a robot talking to each other, or like a computer.
You don't know that. I didn't.
Well, you do know that at some point because you say the bad guy, like the shadow figure who's like the antagonist of the game. At some point, it's like. He calls the other. You don't know his name. You know the name of the other robot computery thing is Zeus, and it's got like a really filtered voice. And at some point, the shadow figure says, "Like, you can't believe that. You're just a fool." And the robot goes, "I am a computer. I cannot be a fool."
Oh yeah. You don't understand human emotion. Yeah.
I've had enough of your electro psychobabble. He says that to a computer.
It's very 2001 Space Odyssey. Like, I can't do that, Dave.
It's I would say it's more like Lost in Space for the kind of like all the cheese in it.
Yeah.
Danger, Razcarcy, danger. Electro Psychobabble, by the way, is just it's the best thing ever said.
Dibs on that band name.
Oh yeah, it's the best band name. Electro Psychobabble. With a featured song, Razcarcy and the Peepos.
We were originally called the Wienerless Steves, but we've changed it now.
Okay. And as it progresses, there were a couple parts that I vaguely remember. There's one part where he goes full on mutant. Raz does when you're playing as him, and she has the antidote, or she gets him the antidote. I want to say.
No, what happens is Trunks comes back from future.
Damn it! I was about to say that same fucking thing. I was about to say that same fucking thing.
There was these androids.
Oh my god. So mad. I was legitimately about to make that same fucking joke.
Listening. You will see you next week. Just gonna end it right there. We're done. I'm kidding.
Yeah. You turn into you go through like an anime transformation, and turn into like a werewolf looking monster thing. That's really bad, and like the modeling is awful. It just looks like terrible. It doesn't look interesting. It's just bad. And Millie, who thankfully you share inventory, even though they make a point earlier. You make a point earlier in the game to give Millie the gun so she can protect herself. At this point, you haven't given her anything. She's just sharing inventory with you. And so she also has the stun gun you picked up earlier.
Oh, yeah.
She uses the taser on you to knock you out and then somehow drag you again to this giant machine and put you in there and cure you. And when you get out of the machine, it works out miraculously. And like the guy on the shadow figure is like it's a shame. He makes he's the perfect soldier. Like he is the one. He's the solution to all of our problems. Not that it matters anymore. And so you get like a little bit of story beat there, and you wake up and you're still the dumbest fucking idiot in the world because you go to when you go to the machines, you're like, how did Millie know how to use this? That's so strange. It's so weird.
A girl using a computer?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't understand. I think the actual dialogue or the actual written description of it is like, this is a weird machine, but that doesn't explain why Millie knew how to use it. It's like, dude, come on. Like, put the pieces together. He is the dumbest, dumb Resident Evil protagonist.
Hey, he can't help it. He wasn't given a brain when he was created.
Like we talk about Resident Evil protagonists being dumb, where they're like, "Oh, who could be behind the zombie outbreak?" And it's like, it's Umbrella. It's always Umbrella, Chris. God damn it.
Their names are on everything.
But Raz is just like Millie knows how to open every door, and she knows how to use the computers here. But I don't like. There should be like a fucking. It should have like that Scott Pilgrim like thing in his head where it goes from like doesn't get it, but it would be the whole game. There's dozens of clues. It's not till the very end of the game when somebody tells you directly to your face, and you're like, I guess Millie worked at this lab. And it's like, yeah, yes, she did. It's so
like
frustrating.
Raz Carsey has unlocked the power of love.
Yeah.
Oh god, and the whole love story with him. He's like, all right, where the way he gets over Millie is just stupid. Like that made me shake my head a lot.
I like the part where she saves his life by dragging him through the door, and you hear the like, oh god, it's so confusing. But you drag Raz through a door. Millie drags you through a door before a zombie Terminator mutant thing kills you. And thankfully, the door closes right after you. That part's all off screen. You just hear the audio for this because I guess they were trying to save money and go for this stylized effect. But the next scene is like both of you standing up with your backs to the wall next to each other, and like weird jazz music is playing. And it's like, oh man, if it wasn't for Millie, I'd be dead. Thanks, Millie. You're the best. I have feelings for you.
It's stupid.
You need like that dumb like Raz voice constantly playing of this game of like gave Millie gun, Millie saved life, Millie love. It's this entire game is like that meme of the guy from Sailor Moon where he's like the butterfly is landing on his finger. He's like, is this a bird?
Oh god.
What kind of bird is this? Like that's Raz. That's who Raz is as a person.
It reminds me of that Futurama episode where the brains come and everyone's dumb, and Leela's like, this for you.
Yeah. Fry's the smartest man on the planet.
Yeah.
Brains make brain hurt. Raz is, you know what Raz is? Raz is it Gumby from the Monty Python skits? What's that character's name who has the cloth hat on? Oh god, what is that fucking character? I'll look it up real quick. It's not Gumby. It might be Gumby. Let's see here. Yeah. It's Gumby. This is the great skit where he's like the doctor and like or anyone who hasn't watched Monty Python, just go look at the Gumby sketches. They're fucking hilarious. They all have like cloth hats on and they wear sweater vests and they're just all really stupid. They're like, solve problem, and they're just like hitting shit with a wrench and they're like, fix bike. Their catchphrase
right now.
Their catchphrase is my brain hurts. and that's Raz. That's Raz's like entire persona is my brain's voice.
It's his arc. It's emotional arc.
It's emotional
It's the
arc.
only direction. Direction he got.
One direction.
On that note.
Now back to where we were. Okay. So as the game progresses, there's not a whole lot of cool scenes that I feel like we need to really hash out, but there are a couple I want to mention. One that we hadn't mentioned yet is throughout this game, there are a couple scenes where you'll be like a kind of what now would have been a quick time event, where all of a sudden the life bar will flash on the screen, and sometimes you don't even know what to do. You just have to hit a button and like jump. Like there's a part where the water comes rushing at you. You have to just jump, and there's a bunch of different scenes like that, but I didn't mind them.
We should probably also say at this point that
yes,
Jesse is gone, just for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we don't, because we're editing that part and putting it at the end. We should also make a note to say, hey, everybody, Jesse had to go, so he's not going to be in the rest of this episode, but he's still going to have a shelfer box at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just so that's not confusing, where they're like, hey, Jesse's oddly quiet for the rest of this episode for some reason.
Yep.
You know, that's a very good idea.
Yeah. So that happened.
Okay.
Leave that really awkward silence in there.
And now, welcome back to Overblood.
Oh god. You know what? I'll say this later, but one thing I do want to mention as this game progresses, there's a part also where you're driving these little like like a little hovercraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the guard thing, Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I really in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Metal Gear Solid, it's what the guards fly on in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh my god, I didn't even put that together. That is so true. Wow.
Yeah, I don't. It's Metal Gear Solid 3 stole something from Overblood.
Damn, Kojima's a big fan of Overblood.
Kojima. It turns out Kojima is a total hack, and I say all these bad games must exist. Like Kojima has a collection of like the best worst games, and he's just stolen what makes them interesting. We're gonna find out that like he stole everything in Metal Gear Solid from all these bad games. Some bad game is going to come out and they're like, oh, we're using nuclear warheads to bring all the nations of the world together. And it's like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Why does that sound familiar?
I am so confused right now.
That you played Metal Gear.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while. I'm just confused about this podcast.
It's appropriate to what we're talking about.
I guess go ahead, Stu.
Well, I wanted to ask what everyone's favorite puzzles in this game was, or maybe just the one that stood out the most, because it's all the puzzles in this game are so odd and so weird.
Going back to what I was saying earlier about jumping into the hole, like figuring out your inventory and having to use it without knowing that's how you use it. That's like a puzzle in itself. What was the puzzle where you had to use Peepo and Raz Karsi holds the door up?
That's my favorite puzzle because it's so shocking, because you go into a hallway and it seems like such a simple puzzle. This is actually one of those things where I think it's really effective puzzling, just done in a really bad way. You go into a hallway and you press a button. There's a door at the end of the hallway. You walk, the door won't open. You go back to the beginning of the hallway. There's a button you press and it opens the door. When you let go of the button, the door closes. It's like a riddle. It's set up like a riddle.
Yeah.
So you press the button, the door opens, you go walk towards it, and the door like starts closing and you can't make it. So you have to, as Peepo, press the button. You have to think about it, like play around with it, and switch to Peepo, because you can switch characters. We haven't mentioned that yet. This game has character switching.
I think we mentioned it, but not
move over Resident Evil 0.
Yeah. It's like a zapping system.
Yeah. You play as Peepo, you press the button on the door, you send Raz Karsi through it, and then as Peepo, you let go of the button and you can make it under the door. And then a little bit later, there's a door that you have to put the gravity controller on. It's like the same kind of setup. You put the gravity controller on, it opens, and you send Peepo through, and when you're walking through, the door starts closing, and for some reason, Raz, instead of just walking out from under the door, stands there and lets the door hit him in the back, and he's like holding it up, and the door is about to kill him. It's about to crush him to death.
Right.
And Peepo, you have to go and like play around with some fucking switches on the wall as your health bar is going down rather quickly. And it's like quintessential Overblood puzzle, where it's a very simple setup. You know what you have to do, but the execution of it's so odd, where it's like, the way that this door is opened is with 3 like levers that have to be in a certain formation, like a la Resident Evil style, where it's like, oh yeah, the door can't just open. Of course, you have to solve a lever puzzle to open the door.
Right. And like speaking like physically, if he could theoretically hold the door up, then couldn't he have just lifted it? I mean, it was probably locked, but wouldn't that be how that works? Like, how is he even holding that door up? Because it's like a 1,000,000-pound steel door.
Yeah, like when you fuck around with the levers, how the puzzle is like solved is like the pressure on the door is released just enough, I guess, for it like pops up like half a foot and you run out from under it and then it slams shut again. So I shouldn't even say those levers like open the door. They just activate like you have 3 levers that just move the door up 6 inches and then slams it shut. It's
bizarre.
It's like it's the 1-2 punch of every puzzle in this game, of every aspect of this game, really. That's like, oh, it hits you with something good and interesting, or at least like solvable. It sets you up with a solid setup, and then Like just completely, it's like a completely flaccid payoff. It just makes no sense.
Seriously.
What was your favorite dumb puzzle, Mike?
I can't even remember most of them all of a sudden, but the one that did stick with me was the anti-grav when you have the statue that can fall on you, which didn't happen to me. That amused me.
I like the thermostat one a lot because that one's right after you get the vial that can be exploded if heated or shaken. You shortly afterwards or shortly beforehand, depending on how you do it, you can find a thermostat that is it's the most video game logic ever. You have a vial that explodes if shaken or heated, and you find a thermostat that only heats. And it's well written in that your brain goes, this heats and this explodes if heated, I'm making a bomb.
And the thing that with that too is every time you say that, I keep thinking of 007, shaken, not stirred, every single time.
Shaken, not heated.
But,
no. And then you said the bomb to 9 seconds for some fucking reason and make it really hard for you to run away from the bomb.
Yeah, that was kind of a hard part too. This game is interesting, but I do kind of want to start wrapping it up here. How much else there is to say about this game? I realize this game is really hard to talk about too.
It kind of is. We haven't talked about some other things we usually talk about with games because this is such an odd one. Like we haven't talked about reviews because this.
There's no point.
I mean,
we don't really talk about reviews a lot. Though.
I usually bring them up. I usually say like this game got like 6s or 7s or something. This game reviewed like not that badly, all things considered. It's kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like a timing thing of we all were introduced to this game by Game Informer like years after it was released, and so it just looked worse by comparison. But
yeah, I don't think I ever once saw Overblood until they did it on replay. I don't remember seeing it in a store or like in a magazine or anything.
Believe it or not, this game was actually recommended to me a long time ago by a friend.
Wow.
Not on its own, but my friend sent me like a list of. My friend made like he made like a list of like every horror game that people should play or something. Made this really long list, and I think he put it on Reddit. It might still be up on Reddit somewhere. But it's probably still floating around the internet somewhere. But it's like a long list of like all games people should play, and it was like all the horror games that people should play. And it was like, you know, the classics are on there. You had like Resident Evil on there. You had Silent Hill. He put all like the Penumbra games on there. This was before like Amnesia came out. It was a long time ago. And
yeah,
I remember Overblood being on the list. And the only reason it stood out to me was because I saw that list again years later, and I noticed Overblood was on it, and I was like, "What the fuck? Why did he put this on his list? What did he play Overblood?" And sadly, I don't talk to him anymore. I should try to get back in contact with him and be like, "Hey, what the fuck? Did you play Overblood?
What's this all about, man?
What's the deal with you?" But the game reviewed like decently well from some people. I mean, I think Game Informer gave it like a 6, or I think they gave it a 6 or like 6.5 or something. IGN gave it a 6. Joypad and GameFan they both gave it like solid Bs essentially.
That feels about right for like back then, right?
Yeah, I maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say because this is one of those games where like this game worries me too. Like I get some level of worry about this game because I'm like, did we just enjoy Resident Evil because we played it younger, because we have that nostalgia? Is that what keeps us with it? Like, had I played Overblood when I was 10, would I love this game like I love Resident Evil?
That's true. Yeah, and I mean, obviously having more time to sit back and enjoy it and not have to rush through it in a week would probably help out too.
Probably, yeah. But I mean, it's hard to say. I think this game, there's a lot of things about this game that are really interesting. The game itself isn't necessarily, worthwhile. Yeah. But I think about this game a lot. There's a lot of things I think about where I'm like, yeah, this game didn't review terribly. Had I played this game when it was recommended to me, I wonder if it'd be like a game series that I was still like begging to come back. Like, oh man, when are they going to do Overblood 3?
Yeah,
I highly doubt it.
I still find it bizarre that it got a sequel in the first place, honestly.
Yeah. I actually looked up because for some other backstory, because we were in the Overblood group, I don't remember the context of why I was doing this. I think somebody in the Overblood group was like, we were talking about it one day, and I was like, I'm gonna look up to see if I can figure out who owns the rights to Overblood. it was around the same time I was like looking into I was looking at like Akihiro Hino and like figuring out he did it, and I was like, I think a Game Informer interviewed him at some point and asked him like a couple questions about Overblood, and they asked him like who owns the rights, and he didn't answer it. Like they asked him like 2 questions and he didn't answer that one, and I was like, who does own the rights? That'd be interesting to find out. And so I actually like went through like the patent office and made a bunch of requests for Overblood. I did real investigation on this. I went to the American patent office and I went to the Japanese patent office. Thankfully, they both have work. Thankfully, they both have pretty good websites, so it wasn't that difficult. And Overblood and Overblood 2 were both, the rights to them were both held by they're both produced by EA or developed by River Hill Soft. The first one was published by River Hill Soft. The second one was published by EA. And so I was like trying to figure out what happens, like where the rights went to. And I don't know because River Hill Soft went bankrupt, and I think a lot of people who worked on it went to go work for Level 5. And like the Level 5, or like for a brief period, like some stuff was owned by EA. So as far as I could tell, like a lot of the rights for this don't quote me on this. When I last checked, because I have checked multiple times. When I last checked, it looked like the rights had expired, or at least I could no longer find patents for it.
That's weird. I thought for the longest time, or I remember somebody posting it in Overblood, they said EA does own the rights, and I was like, well, that makes sense. But
I think that was me. I think I said that.
Okay, yeah. I was like,
for a while, it seemed like it was owned by EA. That was like the conclusion I came to. But then I couldn't find the copyrights for it anymore. And so I don't know if they just lapsed and EA like didn't give a shit about Overblood because, EA is not going to bring back Overblood.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody really cares because the game didn't sell like, particularly well.
Only one group of people on the internet care.
There is one group of 3,000 people that love Overblood and want it to come back, and nobody else wants it. Nobody else gives a shit about it. Yeah, I was looking into it, and because I know somebody in the group. I'm not going to name names because I don't know if EA still owns this. Somebody in the group was talking about remaking Overblood as like an indie game.
Oh yeah, I actually know that person because I was going to work on it for them, and I actually created the song that they were going to use in the game on my guitar. Oh, nice. Yeah, and they got yeah, they got to the level design. I think they finished like that opening room with the pods in it, and then they just stopped. And I was like, "Why are you stopping?" But like to create a whole game today on your own, it's almost impossible.
For only like 2,000 people, so like it wouldn't even really sell.
Yeah,
like, you can't sell it anyway.
5 of us. Well, that I did talk to that person. I recall talking to them at least a little bit about the like copyright about it because I was trying to figure out if they could sell it, and I came to the conclusion that I didn't know. It was too much of a gray area. The paper trail for Overblood sadly ends at some point. I've looked into it and I can't find it, and it kind of dead ends, and I don't know if there is a copyright out there for it anymore.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to know that because I would like somebody to start making Overblood again.
Yeah, I actually wish I used to have the screenshot of that first room they made with the pods, and it actually looked really, really good. I think they used the Unreal 3 engine for it or something.
I think so. I don't know if that person's still in the group or not.
I don't think they are.
But yeah, it was looking pretty good. Like I know they got like a character model for Raz, like somewhat of the way done. I was like, I'm color me interested in this. I actually, I still have the images on my computer. I probably should have given them to Mike for this. I made a Peepo bot and a Raz Carsey in Fallout 4, and I played Fallout 4 as Raz Carsey.
What the?
Yeah, they added the Automaton DLC, and so I made a Sentry bot, and I went into the console commands and I changed the scaling of the Sentry bot so that it was only as high as my waist. And I gave him a little Peepo head.
That's awesome.
I should not be surprised.
I still have those photos on my computer. I should send those. I should have sent those to you, like stupid marketing for it or something.
Yeah.
Well, not to keep people in suspense because we kind of trailed off there for a second, which actually we did get some good stuff in, but the game comes down to a shocking conclusion.
Oh, I do want to do this part.
Yeah, so okay. Mike, if you want to go ahead and explain
I was going to say this earlier, but then the rant started, so I just took a seat back, you know.
Is the rant am I the rant?
Yes, you are the rant.
I'll take that.
I mean, throughout this game, if you don't see the character's face that's been talking in the other room, and he keeps talking about Millie, and it comes down to you get to a point that you find out that you are a clone. I think Millie's a clone. Yeah, Millie's a clone too.
Yes.
And the guy that's been talking to you that's been talking to the computer the whole time, that's been kind of trying to say Millie is who you are cloned from.
The original Razcarcy.
Yeah, he's the real Razcarcy. You're just a clone. You find out that I think all the mutants are clones too, and part of the mutant virus is because they're clones, and you're the only one that hasn't been affected completely yet, or you're the one that lasted the longest.
Well, it leaves it a little ambiguous that in the fact that the Razcarcy who is supposed to be the real Razcarcy, he might actually be a clone, and you might be the real Razcarcy.
I was actually going to bring that up. I heard that theory. Yeah, that's a theory. That's a legit theory in the game, or not in the game, of the game.
Okay, I didn't catch that, but I guess I wasn't paying attention enough.
Well, they don't explain in the game. It's just like a theory that people have. I say as though more than 3,000 people have talked about this game.
No, it's only 3,000. I mean, this is a game that I'm sure went under the radar.
I'm sure we know the person who came up with this theory, but we just don't know who it was. But yeah, that's a theory in the game because the clone says the real quote unquote the real Razcarcy, the scientist Razcarcy says like, no, I was him, he was me, and like you could kind of interpret it as he's a clone and they put you in cryostasis and all of your clones have been doing these experiments trying to create the perfect super soldier.
Right.
And Millie was like your wife previously who died in a skiing accident, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's in there?
I don't remember where, but yeah, Millie died. I think it was in a skiing accident is how Millie died. I don't remember where that comes from because I certainly don't remember it in the game, but that's in my memory for some reason.
I shouldn't be that surprised, but
yeah, she's a clone as well, and yeah, it's very confusing, and it's like it kind of makes sense that she would fall in love with like the real Razcarcy and not a clone Razcarcy.
I really wanted to make that joke, but I'm not gonna do it. There's a joke right there. I'm not gonna do it.
The real Razcarcy. Please stand up.
Yeah, I knew it was there. I thought about it too, but
yeah, that's my rapper name, the real Razcarcy. The real Wienerless Steve.
I mean, I actually enjoyed the story of the game. Like, I was really surprised that I was actually like interested and kind of invested. I'm like, why do I give a shit? But I actually cared.
Yeah.
To quote Game Informer's replay of it again, it goes places. It's certainly interesting enough to keep you invested. Like it doesn't suffer from some like Silent Hill stories where after a while you're like, Jesus Christ, there's so much going on. I just cannot be bothered to care about this anymore.
Yeah, or it's so obvious. It's like, oh, I already know what's going on. Jesus.
Yeah. The story in this is it's such a simple concept that's executed so poorly. But I can see why people really enjoy the story of this because it's like it's a good story. It could be a decent I was going to say it could be a decent sci-fi movie, and I was going to name a sci-fi movie, but there is a sci-fi movie with a similar plot line that I'm not going to spoil because I don't want people getting mad at me. There's a sci-fi movie that has a similar storyline with clones and mutants and whatnot.
Okay.
And similar payoffs.
You should tell me later because I'm curious now. But after we're done recording,
I'm going to write it down in the chat so you guys can see it, and I want to be able to. Can I join the chat?
You're in the chat.
I have to accept. Okay. Apparently, I wasn't in the chat yet. I have to accept the call that I've been in for an hour and a half. I'm going to write down the name of this. I don't know if either of you have seen this movie, but
all right. So this is great radio
story. Yeah, sorry.
I'm going to take over. So as you run into yourself, the clone or whoever the hell he is.
Run into yourself. God damn it.
That was great, actually.
And I want to say, doesn't he inject him, or he ends up mutating for some reason? And this was like one of the only boss fight in this entire game, or the first part of the only boss fight in this entire game. And I wasn't so sure about it. Like so I finally equipped my pistol for the first time in the game, and I finally just shot him a bunch of times, used up almost all my ammo, but I did finish him. But I mean, he fights like every other mutant. He just takes a lot more hits, which means he jumps up and down.
We should really give a clear, definitive picture of this because it's fucking hilarious. It's you. Hello, me. It's me again. It's you turned into a wolf, a zombie wolf, in baby blue trousers.
Yes.
And literally the whole fight is him knocking you back and forth across the room while doing somersaults.
Yeah, backflipping towards you. And oh my god, we didn't even mention the fucking sound design of this game.
You can do that. I got nothing about the sound design.
Oh my god, this game has the best and worst sound design ever. We kind of mentioned like the voice acting and the yelling, how it's all really dumb, but like the zombies in this game, you only fight, I think, 4 of them throughout the entire game, including the boss, really. Or no, you may fight 4 and the boss, but there's not that many. But all the zombies, when they all jump into you and like scream, but when they scream, they make like a weird cat noise. That's so fucking good. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That actually used to be my text tone for a while, was that wow. Wow.
And it's going over with Raz Carsey punching them, going brap brap.
And then like the punches have some like weird echo effect on them too. It's very strange. So they're like they don't sound like punching. They sound like kind of like metal hitting wood, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got like it's imagine hitting a hollow metal pipe against like a tree. That's kind of the noise the punching makes. I don't know why it has that metallic sound to it. Maybe because the zombies have like metal skulls and you're made of wood. I don't know.
His acting was a little wooden.
My favorite part is at some point Millie gets kidnapped by a zombie. You get knocked onto the ground, like a zombie sneaks up behind you. Like it's an intelligent zombie, which by the way does not show up again in the game. That intelligent zombie it attacks you and disappears from the game forever. It punches you in the back it distracts you. The real quote unquote Raz Carsey punches you in the back of the head and knocks you out. And even though you're knocked out on the ground, you still have time to go, Millie! And then somebody screams, I think it's Millie is trying to say Raz, but it comes off as like while you're just face down unconscious on the ground. It's so funny. I love the sound design in this game. It's so bad. And like some of it's so bad, some of it's so good. The door opening sound is my favorite door opening sound in any video game. That like whoosh.
Yeah, like a Star Trek.
It's like a Star Trek door noise. It's great. But it's like it's got more like weight to it.
Yeah, but basically yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Hey, keep going. You're good. As long as you're progressing the story, I'm happy.
I was just going to say, but basically what happens is Raz and Millie jump in a fighter jet. I think it's a fighter. It's a jet of some kind.
It's a jet without wings.
And evil Raz gets hit by the afterburner from the flame, and they jettison out and survive because there's a timer going down.
Oh,
because it's like Resident Evil, and the whole place is going to explode.
It's a 3-part fight/puzzle with a 500-second time limit on it. It doesn't pause for conversations. It's awful.
It doesn't even show you his health bar either. Like you have no idea when that fight is going to end.
No, you got to fight him twice. I don't fight him because you beat him.
Yeah.
And then when you go up in the elevator, you fight him a second time. I was like, really, game? I was like, really? Is this necessary?
It is the most drawn out fight ever. You fight him in the lab. You kill him, you think. You have to go to the computer. This is also like amazing. You go to the computer and you remember that you have like Pipo's Metamolet chip, and you put the chip in the computer, and Zeus, who's like this evil computer with this really intimidating voice, all of a sudden you hear this like happy beeping, this cheerful beeping noise. You're like, Pipo will save us. And it's like, yeah, you came back. Like, Pipo's here to save you. And it recognizes you as the real Raz Carsey because you're either a clone or you are the real Raz Carsey.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens the elevator. You get on the elevator. This is a scripted cutscene. The real or clone Raz Carsey, we'll just call him Dr. Carsey. Dr. Carsey attacks the elevator. You shoot him. He falls, and you're like, oh, good. He's finally dead. Third part of this fight is, again, you're fighting. You're controlling it. You have to beat him again next to the fucking jet. Fourth part of this fight is after you've seemingly beat him 3 times, he comes back and you have to trick him into running in front of the fucking jet's engine so that Millie can burn him, but somehow the jet doesn't take off without you.
Oh, you got to trick him? I mean, I thought you just had to hit him times and it finally activates.
No. You have to walk him to the. And I think as long as he's vaguely on the back of the jet, it activates. But it's a 4-part fight. 2 parts of it are fight. 1 part is a cutscene, and 1 part of it is a puzzle. It's the most confusing. I don't know why they did it that way.
Okay, I punched him for I punched him for minutes while that timer is ticking down. Just punching him right in front of the ship, not realizing I had to bring him to the back of the ship.
And that fucking timer is going down the entire time. You were on the elevator for 40 to 50 seconds. You can sit there and count how long you're on this fucking elevator, having this conversation, just watching this timer tick down with beads of sweat are rolling down your fucking forehead. Just come on. Why are we doing this?
I'm kind of wondering now, was Resident Evil 3 already out? Because the nemesis in that game is multiple fights as well at the end. So I'm kind of curious.
I don't know. Resident Evil 3 came out. Oh God, I'm only going to find Resident Evil 3 came out in 1999. Overblood actually did come out before this. Overblood came out in 97 or 96. Overblood came out in 96.
Oh my God, that's early.
Actually, it came out a couple months after Resident Evil. Resident Evil was March, and Overblood was August. March, April, May, June, July. So 6 months.
Crazy. Yeah.
Credit to Akihiro Kino, because I don't know if I would be interested to know if they kind of were aware of Resident Evil and started working on this beforehand, or if one man had to program this entire game in 6 months. Less than 6 months. Because
I would say Google, but I feel like that information is not going to be on the internet.
There is no information about the development of this game.
Well, this is just. I mean, the only reason we're even talking about this game is, as we mentioned earlier, is because of Overblood, because of the group and Facebook, and this is one of those survival horror games that a lot of people don't know, and it's okay.
It's a completely forgettable Resident Evil clone that happens to have spawned a very tight-knit community and is the sole reason for this podcast existing. If one man in 1996 hadn't burned through 4 months programming this fucking game, this podcast would not happen. It's like it's like the butterfly landing on the flower thing. It's a very strange butterfly effect.
Doesn't the place blow up as you're flying away too? Or
as you're flying away, you hear.
Oh yeah,
as Carsey goes, "Thank you, Peepo," and you hear, and the whole place blows up like fucking white light dome. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be all the emotional impact of the fucking Star Destroyer, or not the Star Destroyer, the Death Star blowing up. It's after this long fight with a timer going down, so it's just you're just confused. You're just is that it? Is it over? And then you see some concept art start showing up, and the cutscenes start playing. You're the credits start rolling. You're what the fuck just happened?
Doesn't Millie turn to Raz at some point and say, "So, how about doing a little overtime?"
Yeah.
Oh God, they had that line. I don't remember that. I wasn't.
They like to. We talk about camera angles sometimes. The camera angles in this game really try to accentuate how sexy Millie is.
She's not sexy at all, because this is PlayStation 1.
They try to have multiple camera angles where her butt is just the focus of the shot, or it's her boobs, but it's a PS1 game made in 1996. So
she literally looks like a soccer mom in a purple tracksuit. That is Millie.
It's everything is sagging, and everything is sagging wrong. It's sagging in a way that doesn't make sense.
You know who does look sexy in PS1 graphics, Mike? You might remember this girl from Parasite Eve. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and it does too. Jill Valentine does too.
Valentine.
I don't know if I'd say they're sexy.
They were to me in 1999.
Jill Valentine is vague enough to recognize a female form, and I think that was to Jill Valentine's credit. You see every polygon on Raz and Millie, and those polygons are working as hard as they fucking can. Raz Carsey doesn't have ears. He just has like ear slots where like the hair stops to give you the impression of ears, which looks, fine for that era. But the thumbs, we got to talk about his hands. We got to talk about the hands in this game.
The ones that look like pork ribs or something.
Yeah, you see close-ups of. Oh god, we actually have. There's two things we need to talk about. We need to talk about the hands, and we need to talk about the fact that this game beat Mirror's Edge by about 20 fucking years. But
you mean like with the camera?
Yeah. So the hands in this game, you are perpetually pointing. The first game I remember seeing individual fingers, I think, was like maybe GTA. Like San Andreas, I think that might be the first game where it really stood out to me that characters have individual fingers. This game forces you to imagine the characters have individual fingers because for whatever reason, Raz Carsley is constantly doing like the double finger guns. He's just like his hands are stuck that way. And so he's always pointing and his thumb is sticking out, but his thumb is a separate model to his body. So like his thumb runs up his forearm in a very strange way. The character models just look awful. They try to do a first person thing when you're putting in like a numpad and you see Raz Carsley's hand and it looks like a rack of ribs. It's not great. That's a downside to this game. The upside to this game is it has first person combat.
Yes, I want to talk about that. So
gotta talk about that.
Okay, like in this game, you can switch around the cameras to a couple different camera angles, but you can play the entire game in first person. It's not very good, and it's hard to see in certain areas, but you can. I did a couple times just to help me stay straight on where I was headed, because there's a part you gotta go to different rooms and everything was confusing. But I actually didn't hate this game. Like I hate Fear Effect more than I hate this game.
Wow.
Fuck Fear Effect. Fuck you, Fear Effect.
I agree with you on that.
I liked Fear Effect, but I liked it for the wrong reasons. So
I mean, Bill experienced Fear Effect the perfect way. He didn't play it. He just watched somebody else play it. So
he did the right thing.
I mean, I was trying to look up like other 3D shooters at this time, and as far as I could tell, like one of the earliest ones was Descent. Which came out in 1995, so just a year before Overblood. So Overblood, you could play it entirely in first person, and you could do the combat in first person. And like the first person combat is actually really, really impressive. Like their ambition paid off. This game should. I would almost go as far as to say like this game should be recognized for that alone.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the combat in first person, you actually like see yourself punching the zombies, and when you're running, your hands are actually like moving in the screen, like you're actually running. They're swinging back and forth. It's really insanely impressive that one guy did that in 1996. If this game came out a year earlier, it would have started that movement. That's just want to throw that out there.
Yeah,
weird thing you're saying.
I feel like the closest thing that comes to it is there's a Sega Saturn game. I think it's a horror game. It's called D or something. And it's a first-person view as well, and you're running around hallways trying to avoid a monster or something, but it's nowhere near to the effect of this game. It's it's impressive.
It's like the fact that they incorporated so much into this weird PlayStation 1 survival horror game that, it's strange.
I mean, like around this time we had like Duke Nukem 3D and Quake, which were both like 3D shooters, but even they didn't handle first person like Overblood did. It's hard to talk about because I don't want to like completely. I don't want to say too much about it, like ruin what I'm saying. I don't want to like oversaturate my compliment of it, but it is legitimately a very impressive accomplishment.
Especially by one person. Yeah.
That just, oh my god. For Akihiro Hino is a goddamn hero, and there's a reason that he's the president of a game company now. He deserves that.
Yep.
As bad and weird and like off-putting this game is in a lot of ways, so much of it is ambitious and like he accomplished quite a bit.
It's insanely impressive what he's done just by himself and made for a PS1 era game.
That's why I say like if I had played this when I was 10, I'd still be talking about it like it's the best game ever. Like, I wonder if I'd have that nostalgia. Like, if I played this when I was 10, would I be walking around to people going like, yeah, like Quake was cool, but Overblood had first person combat. You could see your character, so it's whatever.
Probably.
It's insane.
Not even Resident Evil had that.
Not even Resident Evil had that. For Resident Evil clone, they did more ambitious things than any other Resident Evil clone really like tried to.
Mm-hmm.
Any Resident Evil clone that wasn't trying to be like its own game, like not counting games that were trying to be something else. Like this game was like, we're gonna do a Resident Evil clone, but we're gonna, God damn it, we're gonna like try.
Yeah.
Try to push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah.
It's insanely impressive. It makes me funny. It'd be funny if they came out today and they were like, "Oh, River Hill Soft is back, and we're doing a new Overblood, but we want it to be as ambitious as Overblood was in 1996."
Never gonna happen.
They would like have to get Kojima on board. We're changing the ways you think about games.
Oh, do we have you guys have any last minute things you want to say about this game before we move on to questions and memories?
All I'm going to say is that if you liked listening to us talk about this, just go check out Game Informer Super Replay. I mean, that's where we all found out about this game. So you're really you're going to experience it another way that way. Yeah. So just check it out.
Even if you don't like us, go listen to it. They're funnier than we are.
Yeah.
And they know unlike us, they like really know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do have another thing to say.
Yes.
There's a little section in this game where you have to push things, and they're like, it's almost like a Dr. Layton puzzle where like they fit a certain way when you move them.
Yeah.
And if you go up to one of the racks there and you click on it, Raz Carsey's line says, "Wow, that's a big rack."
Oh god, that's stupid.
It's so great. That's a big rack.
Oh god.
That's right next to where you get the laser knife and you can just like shock yourself. It's so over the top.
Yeah.
The game goes like zzz, and you do your death scream where like for a brief second you think you're dying. Just hear like brah.
All right. I think we covered most things in this game. So I'm going to move on to questions and memories. I only asked this question in one group. Normally there's like 3 to 5 groups, but because this is such a game that just, I mean, we only did this game as a tribute to our year anniversary. Otherwise, this game would have never been on this podcast because this game is actually really, really hard to talk about.
It would be unfair if we did this podcast and we never once mentioned the game that is the reason for this podcast.
Yeah, and I figured your anniversary was a perfect time to do that and to tribute to Overblood being part of our fan base. I know we have a decent amount of fans getting there. So. Especially from Public Command.
Got those Eastern Europeans out there. Shout out to those Eastern Europeans who
and the people in Australia who listen to us. There's few and they're growing. Every month it's growing. There are more people in Australia downloading us.
Yeah, so. Can't thank our audience enough for listening to us for reasons that are beyond my understanding.
Yep, it's great.
All right. First one from this one I can't answer, but you guys probably can. From Sebastian Games, his favorite memory of the Super Replay. I don't remember the Super Replay.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what mine is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know mine too.
What about you, Stu?
My favorite memory of it is actually a joke that Tim Turry says that kind of flies under the radar. No one really acknowledges, where you go up to the first code door and it says incorrect password, but the audio skips, and so it sounds like it goes incorrect password. And they're putting the password in, and Tim Turry just goes, come on, rec password. And nobody acknowledges it, but it's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing Tim Turry has ever said. And I still, to this day, when I'm putting in a password, the back of my head, I think, come on, a rec password.
Okay, how about you, Stefan?
So before they did this, Game Informer did the Super Replay. This was like a roulette on one of their regular shows, replay. Yeah. So a replay is when they just kind of take a look at the game. There's a main game, and then afterwards they'll do like maybe 10 minutes of a roulette, like another game.
It was on Revolution X, right?
Yeah, Revolution X. And they the first time they played it, like they could not figure out how to get out of the first room of this game, and they died.
Yeah.
And one of the last things Tim Turry says, he's like, "I'm not done with you, Overblood. I'll be seeing you again." And sure enough, it became a Super Replay. But my favorite part is just them not being able to get out of that room for like 20 minutes.
I like how they solve it. They solve it so, like they die in the fucking replay and then solve it so quickly when they start playing the game again.
They probably looked it up,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Or something.
No, they just figured it out, and then like they figured it out only for every subsequent puzzle to be as confusing and wrong. It's just
only to then again not be able to find the voice recorder and die an hour in and have to start over again.
Yeah, I would I'd recommend to all of our fans to watch that super replay and like watch it, and if you want to join the group, because it's just kind of this fun little thing that we have that's really nice to have.
Mm-hmm.
My Facebook is almost entirely Overblood shit. And I get to the point where if I'm scrolling on Facebook and I get past an Overblood, like if I get past Overblood and I start seeing like shit from high school people that I know, I just close Facebook. Like that's when I usually know, like, I'm done with this today. I'll scroll until I'm out of Overblood shit, and then I'm done with Facebook. It's the only reason I'm still on it.
I'm glad that you guys are both on Facebook.
Yeah.
All right. Another one from Emmanuel, a previous guest on the show. Long live our Lord and Savior, people. It's an ongoing joke with people in this group, and that's why. But here's a good one from Seth Cameron. He said, the game taught me that a vest can prevent you from freezing to death. The game brought us our Lord and Savior, people. The game has a big rack in it. Ray's, a.k.a. Wienerless Steve, has barbecue rib hands. Millie was useless. Statues can float and fall down on people. Tim's moment with Alan Wrench.
Oh,
The
God,
game,
yeah.
The game has one of the biggest twists in fiction. Raz has one of the biggest. Raz has, if not the best death scream ever. Dan's deathbed scenario where he goes, "I love you" and you and brah. The farts before and during the elevator ride. I know there's more, but I'll leave it at that for now. I barely know what he's talking about.
That's I can't believe you haven't watched it. Yeah, this is.
I'm never going to.
I'm gonna. Well, you don't have to, but I'm gonna tell all of our fans to watch it because essentially that was nothing but like 10 inside jokes that if you just watch the super replay, you'll find hilarious.
The Alan Wrench one is amazing.
Alan Wrench is fucking hilarious.
There's an item you get in this game called Alan Wrench that is not an Alan Wrench, but so
isn't that a guy? Can we edit that out?
Okay, I don't get that joke. All right, next one
and at
from
the
Michael
end of
Hughes.
Episode, Ben Hansen would edit all the everything together into like a little fun musical montage. So,
Okay. Next question. Oh, no, he doesn't. All right, this is from another comment from one of a previous guest, Michael Hughes. Said, not a question, but people. Yes,
people.
From Nikki Scott, another previous guest, said, so I love this game back when it came out. I rented it every weekend from the grocery store. Fast forward to 2012. I see a YouTube video from Game Informer and got so excited. I've been part of the GI community and Overblood group since.
Nikki said that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm not judging you, Nikki, but I'm judging you.
All right. Jerry Klein said, when will you play Overblood 2 for the show? Maybe year 2.
Next year, yeah. I'm already planning to play it next year.
Oh my God, that is such a long ass game, and it's so weird. I don't even know how we're gonna be able to explain that game in 2 hours.
You know what I want to play for the podcast really, really badly. I just really want to play it is Raw Danger.
Oh man, I would love to play Raw Danger. I'll agree with that.
Raw Danger might be my Raw Danger might be one of my favorite games. It has so much fucking charm. It's just unbelievably charming.
It's oddly a humorous game too for a disaster story.
It's got so much going. We gotta next year, Mike. Let's play Raw Danger.
We'll talk about that afterwards. We'll talk about that first. Okay.
I'm telling you now, so that way it's in the episode. So you have to do it. That's what I'm doing.
So this one from Dominic Chikoki, also a previous guest. Damn, a lot of previous guests in there. Did anyone try playing the game in first person? I did it once as a challenge, and it's totally doable. It's just as janky as either way.
I played a lot of it in first person. I played as much of it as I could in first person as Peepo, because when you play as Peepo in first person, the camera is actually lower because Peepo is shorter, which is another thing that's like very small, but it feels very like forward thinking. I actually really appreciate that. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
You get to see the world through Peepo's eyes.
2 more I'm going to read. This is a question from Nick Ludeman. Said, favorite character in Overblood? Mine would be People. Obviously, he's a legend, a robot with a soul. Wienerless Steve didn't deserve him.
It sounds like Mike is saying people, right?
He might be. I don't know.
It sounds like how you said he might be. You might. It really sounds like you're saying people.
It's been a long day.
I like how you tried to play that off. So like he might be like I wasn't talking about you.
Oh man.
All right.
Whenever
There always
says anything
parents
about
in
me,
this
I'm
case,
just gonna act like
people.
somebody else.
All right.
What if
Yeah.
Kipo had like vision like a Terminator? Like Raz is talking to him and he's looking for the correct response. And he's like, he touches on "fuck you, asshole," but it just does beeping.
It's like, have you ever seen the video? So I don't know who made this. I apologize. I think it was Arl Knots. I'm not sure. They did a video of R2D2 subtitle where everything R2D2 said was just like "fuck you, asshole." Like I don't know. Oh great, we're gonna go flying to blow up a fucking Death Star. It's just like Luke Skywalker's just. It changes everything Luke Skywalker says and it makes it sound really condescending by comparison. Archie's like, great, we gotta go fucking kill the Emperor, and Luke's like, yeah, Pete, like, yeah, R2, we gotta go do this. Like, I'm always glad to have you with me, R2. And he's like, fucking stop talking to me. It's very funny.
All right, last comment I want to read. This one's a little long, but then we're done with this part. From Abby Morris. A few years back on my dad's old laptop, I came across a text document I created to save all the passwords for each episode. It is crazy to think this group was created because people started spoiling the passwords in the comments for the episodes. I joined very early in after it was first mentioned in an episode. I believe it was in early 2011. I was a very active member back in the GIO days, so I was stoked for another way to interact with the community members. GIO brought me a sense of community and friendship during one of the loneliest times in my life, and a Facebook group brought an even more personal aspect to the community. I didn't really start interacting with the group until 2014, but man, it's been a crazy ride seeing this group grow into what it is. I was actually just telling my husband about an hour ago that despite whatever saltiness happens from time to time, this is really the closest knit community I've ever been a part of.
Oh yeah.
Also,
okay.
I really wonder what the original creators of the game would think of us.
Yeah, so if, like we said, this happened 10 years ago. So I'm 32 right now. I was 22 years old when this all began.
I was 16. I was right there with Abby as well. Like I did the same thing where I joined the group and I just kind of lurked for a while. I was like, I didn't, like I said, I was 16. I was a 16-year-old kid. I was like, oh man, it's a lot. Like back then I was like, oh, 150 people. That's so many people for a Facebook group.
Felt just like high school.
But yeah, there's a lot of people in that group that I consider very, very good friends now. And nobody does this podcast, but
are we included in this as very good friends? I hope.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. No. No, yeah, it's an absurd group.
All right.
It's absurd. We went into this episode and like we joked ahead of time that we were like, how do we explain the Overblood group to people who listen to the podcast? Because it is like a really good community to be a part of. And I've had like, there's a lot of opportunities have come out of me being in this group, which is very, I mean, just being on this fucking podcast for one. A lot of opportunities have come out from being in that group. Like, I don't know if Katie listens to us, but Katie, who actually is engaged to somebody who used to live like right next to me that I didn't know. Like we ended up talking, like, I think we randomly ended up talking one night because she was streaming and she was like, oh, like, does anyone want to hop on my stream in Overblood? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to do it. And now we're really good friends. A lot of people that I just really like talking to and like hanging, like, you know, I hung out with a couple people at 2DCon when I went, which for those who don't know is a convention that Game Informer would go to every now and then in Minnesota. So we all got to kind of like meet each other. Just that was always a fun thing every year.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is I went to 2DCon and
not going to that.
Mike lived a couple, like you lived like 20 minutes away from it and didn't go. So I could have met Mike, but I didn't.
I was gonna go, but I had just started a third shift job at the time, and I was working that night. And I remember the guys posting something about, hey, we're gonna be at this place, and you know, you guys should come. And I had thought about it, but I couldn't because I had to work. And looking back, I kicked myself for not just getting off my ass and driving there.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to be there too. And apparently when you buy an airplane ticket, they reserve the right to like give it to somebody else.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And an undisclosed reason. And they literally gave my seat away. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm not fucking going. And now I have $450 in airfare that I don't need.
Yeah, it's a really bad problem lately. If for anyone who flies a lot, not to brag, but I fly occasionally. And my parents fly. My parents fly all the time, both for both their jobs, and like it can be a nightmare. Like so many people will overbook flights and be like, "Oh, yep, sorry, there's no room on this flight." Yeah, I know we sold you a ticket, and the only reason you bought that ticket was to get on this airplane. But we decided to sell like 100 more tickets than there were seats on this fucking plane. So go fuck yourself. Like it's a thing that happens and it's really, really annoying. It's just like it's airports playing the numbers, and I understand the logic of it, but more often than not, it's fucking people over.
Yeah.
Airline companies are fucking assholes. I was going to say a worse word, and I decided to censor myself, but it started with C, and you can figure out what it is.
Beep.
Which I will not say on this podcast.
Right. I think we should go to shelf for box. Okay. First, Stefan, how about you?
Why do you always make me go first recently?
I don't know. It's really random. There is no. I just pick somebody. Any, mini, mighty, mo. Who goes?
I think he just makes me go last because I end up talking the most.
Stu's the most long-winded, and I'm the shortest. Yeah, so I beat this game back in the day when Game Informer did the Super Replay. I was like, well, obviously I got to play this piece of shit now. And
you like shitty games.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. I have many subtle levels of shittiness. So something can be really shitty, and I'll be like well, but it was an okay game. Yeah. I have weird taste.
I know.
I think it's also a part of being a horror fan. You just love like shitty horror movies. But
being a horror fan opens you up to just enjoy the worst things.
Yeah, you're essentially just became a whore for horror.
A horror.
But yeah, no, I actually didn't fully go through the game again a second time this time. I played it a little bit just because I wanted to remind myself of the controls and everything. And, the story kind of just dying in that hole made me crack up for like 10 minutes. So as much as this game's like trying to be a horror game, I really don't feel it is in many ways. It's kind of it's like an over dramatized, like, I don't know. It's like a comedy horror game. It's like an Evil Dead to me. It's what it feels like.
Yeah, I could see that comparison.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Like soap opera thriller is the genre.
Yeah, and I don't know. I still appreciate it. I think I appreciate it more for the history I've had with it than the actual game itself. Mm-hmm. But I genuinely did still have fun playing it again. So I'm gonna put it on my on my shelf.
Yeah, putting it on my box.
I'm putting it in my box, and I'm gonna fart on it now. It's going on the shelf.
All right, and then we'll listen to Jesse's take that we recorded earlier.
Insert Jesse's take here.
You didn't have to do that. All right,
I just want you to leave that in. So that
sure. So this one is definitely box. It can burn in hell. I hate this game. As a Resident Evil fan, I'm sorry, I can't. This isn't even diet Resident Evil. This is generic, sugar-free. I mean, God bless them. They tried, and I got to give props, for having, like just one person doing this stuff. But I think I'd rather play Resident Evil 6, and that's saying something.
Wow.
Hey, I like Resident Evil 6.
Wow.
I do too.
That's a whole other can of worms. We'll get to that later. But anyway,
put on the podcast one day.
That's like the equivalent of, do I put my hand in this blender or do I put it in this fryer?
All right, no, let me rephrase it this way. I'd rather watch all the Resident Evil movies in succession and pay attention to every single second of it.
They're good movies.
And one of them is a good movie.
A bunch of them are good movies.
One of them is a good movie. Two are okay, and the rest are like the worst things ever made.
I would rather be tasked with finding the continuity between all those movies than ever playing this again.
It's funny, those movies are like the exact opposite of this game, where those movies are just like, they're so dumb and nothing is connected and nothing makes sense, and you feel like the writers are just like throwing shit in half the time. They're just like, fuck it, make zombies bigger. And this game is the exact opposite, where it's got all these weird interconnected lines that all make sense like with each other, but just the main character is so stupid that you as the player just can't like you're unable to put the pieces together yourself because the main character just doesn't get them. So you can't sit down and be like, okay, this is happening.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I'm just gonna leave on this. I think Mila Jovovich would have made a great Raz Karsi.
We need the actor who played Wesker in those movies. Whatever.
They went through a few. There's two of them.
They got
don't
a
even
second
remember.
one?
Yeah. There was a skinnier one in the fourth one, and then they got a bulkier guy in the rest of them.
Wow, I didn't know there was another one.
All right, and now we're back. And I think, Stu, why don't you go next?
Yeah, it's a hard game to like separate from the emotional connection to it that I have. I've described games in the past of having like a Stockholm syndrome effect, but this game doesn't quite hit that note. I love this game because of like I said, the opportunities and like the friendships I've made because of it, the community I'm part of because of it. So it's hard for me to separate that from talking about the game itself. That being said, like I think even if I didn't have that community, I think I would still put this on my shelf. I don't know.
Yeah, I've had the same exact problem with this. Same thing.
It's difficult. It's difficult to separate those things in my head. Just ignoring the fact that I do have this. We all have this like emotional connection to this game, to this community. Just talking about like the game itself, I'll say it's very ambitious and it does a lot of things in a lot of very interesting ways. The fact that it was developed by one guy is very impressive. It's got that charm of a good bad movie. It's hard to define what that is and really like figure, like you can't manufacture that charm. It just exists in things. Like you could never make The Room on purpose. The Room exists and it's a thing that people love because it's bad, but because it hits those notes in a really good way.
Every time you say The Room, I keep thinking of that movie with Captain Marvel in it, and I know it's not what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
I'll say Trolls 2 then. It hits those same notes, but it's got a little bit more going on. It's like it's not quite like a good bad game. It's a game that kind of has a lot of like weirdness and kookiness and craziness to it. And once you learn a little bit more about it, it starts to make sense and become more impressive. And I do legitimately love this game. I've got I haven't mentioned this yet, but I've got two 3D printed Peepo robots on my desk that somebody from Overblood made. Yes. I've got a white one and a red one because the security robots at the end of the game are red.
The Imperial Guard Peepos.
The Imperial Guard Peepos, yeah.
Okay, that was a good joke.
And I don't want to say that they're not on the 3D printing site anymore, but I think I have the file for it, so I want to print out a green one for the security Peepo that's in Overblood 2. But yeah, I legitimately have a love of this game. It's got to go on my shelf. Because I like thinking about it now, I don't know if there's any way to separate my emotional connection to the game and my like trying to be objective about it. So it's got to go on my shelf. It's a very good game.
Yeah.
So it's not a very good game, but it's a very good game.
We should also mention, well, I should mention for myself that also another reason why I'm putting it on my shelf. I mean, one guy programmed this whole game. Yeah. Jesus Christ, that puts it up there just for that even maybe. Yeah. You know,
one guy did it in a couple months. I mean,
yeah,
and like
that's impressive.
Like he knows what he's doing. Look at it. Like he looked at his other titles. He did Dark Cloud. He did Nino Kuni. He did fucking Professor Layton and Yokai Watch. Like he knows what he's doing. So it's very impressive that this exists. He also did the 3DO Prince of Persia.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like the dude's got a legitimate portfolio behind him. He made all the Inazuma 11 games. Like it's impressive. There's a lot in this game that is very impressive. It doesn't seem that way at first look, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, try to follow up there. Finish this out, Mike.
I don't have as much to say about this game, but I do want to say, like, I was strangely having fun playing this game, and I anyone listening to this show probably knows, I don't like survival horror games. I don't like horror games. I don't like horror, period. And this game strangely grabbed me. And I mean, I'm very connected to the group, but I'm not connected to the Super Replays. I've never even seen all of it. I've seen the beginning, and I just don't care. Unfortunately, I like the guys a lot. I moved out. It doesn't interest me. And for some reason, I was actually having fun with this game because there's not a lot of combat. It's just puzzle solving. I had a nice walkthrough. It told me what to do, and I just kind of went through it, and it took me a few hours and I actually had a good time. Like, this is going to go on the shelf. Like, this is a very strange little game. And, you know, there's no real reason to play it. I mean, if you're not going to play without a guide, don't play it, in my opinion, because it's very obtuse in the way that it explains puzzles and that the way the solution is given. It is not going to tell you what to do in any shape or form, and it doesn't make sense. And you're finding items in places that there shouldn't be an item. Oh, look at this box. Okay, well, this box is like every other box, but this box has the item you're looking for. It's a lot of that. I don't like that, but I had fun. Like I had a lot more fun than I expected. It's going on the shelf. Well, I will never play this game again, but I will talk about it to people.
Yeah,
will I recommend it? Probably not.
When you posted it in the chat, you're like, I kind of strangely want to keep playing Overblood. I was like, what? He's coming around on this?
Yeah, I was. I actually got into the game more than I expected to, and I beat it on Tuesday or Wednesday. I beat it on Tuesday. This is Sunday that we're recording now. Or I beat it Monday. I don't remember. I beat it a while ago, and I just blew through it real fast on my day off.
I like how Mike has accidentally Mike recommended us this and Mike recommended us Parasite.
Yeah.
It's like
Parasite
So it's like, I don't like survival horror. Here's 2 survival horror games that you love now.
Parasite 1 was because I love Parasite 1. I don't love this game. This game, I thought this game would break me. Fear Effect broke me. I had nothing to say. I just hated it. I was upset. And this game was actually like, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. But so if you like survival horror, right?
I'm just waiting for you to recommend some like absurd like horror movie that Stefan and I have never heard of that turns out to be our favorite movie or something. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch Thirst for the podcast, the South Korean movie. And we're like, what? Okay.
You know what? I might never get a chance to say this again, so I might as well bring it up now. But Mike is saying how much he hated Fear Effect, and originally I had said, why don't we play an X-Men game like on the Genesis or something? And Mike was like, no, I like your pick of Fear Effect. Let's go with that one instead. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah.
The annoying thing is,
I didn't know any better.
After we played Fear Effect, I kept thinking about it for like the rest of the week after we like usually I'm good at after we talk about a game, I can like purge it from my system. Like talking about it for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I can be like, all right, I'm done thinking about it. I can move on. I'm pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Fear Effect stuck with me a little bit. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if it says it's good or bad, but it certainly stayed on my mind.
Yeah, it's an interesting game.
But as I've said, I like anime trash. Hence why I'm playing Code Vein right now.
All right, so that wraps up our Shelfer box. And God, I think I'll introduce what we're playing next week since it's my pick. Okay. A game I'm actually really excited to play. So we are going to be talking about next week Castlevania Area of Sorrow for Game Boy Advance. Because I have played 2 of the 3 Game Boy Advance games, but I never played that one, and I'm very, very excited to finally play that one.
Yep, this will be my first Game Boy Advance Castlevania. I've beaten all the originals except for 3.
Don't be mad. This will be my first Castlevania.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At the end of the storyline, so for your first time.
Never played any of the Castlevania. I've watched the series on Netflix, so I know about it, but...
It's so good. It's from what I've heard, it's a really good game, and I have played a little bit of Area of Sorrow a couple of years ago. I never got around to finishing it, so I'm excited to finally make myself play it.
Yep.
So, and before we get on the plugs, what's becoming a normal now in this show is the bullshit thing. A couple things I want to say. First, I want to say, as you guys have heard, we mentioned multiple times in the show, this is our year anniversary. 2, we are officially over 12,100 downloads total all time so far for the year. So that was awesome that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Seriously.
So, this podcast has grown way more than I ever thought it would when the first couple months ran, as we started to get our feet and we're seeing where we're at. Like, okay, but it's very hard to get going. So, as I tell everyone, please let other people know. If you like it, spread the word, because that's how people listen to podcasts other than Spotify, I think, putting it in your playlist. And that's why some of the episodes have tons of downloads.
It's been an interesting process, to be sure, because suddenly I felt like I had to learn a whole new skill set.
Yeah.
Like not there are things about doing like a podcast that I did not expect to be difficult that have turned out to be very difficult for me. It's like learning how to talk again. Like, there's a lot to be said for people who have been doing podcasts for a very long time, who are very good communicators, not just in the sense of being able to tell a story, but knowing when to stop talking and like let other people speak, which I still struggle with. But
we actually have a really good chemistry because I've been on other shows. I was actually just on another podcast. Kendall's been on our show a couple times. Me and him did a podcast episode last night, kind of out of the blue, of best games of the decade, which is hard for me because most of the games I play are over 10 years old. So we did that. That's not published yet as of the time of this recording. Won't probably be published by the time of this you're listening to this episode. But once it is published, I'll post it on the Facebook group. So something to look forward.
I not to toot our own horn, but I find it very impressive that all three of us are able to like do this generally with a different guest every week. Like some guests return, a few guests have been on a couple of times, but like to have a different person on every week is it's certainly a learning experience because you kind of have to get used to like how different people talk constantly.
Yeah. It's almost like we're late night talk show hosts. We always have a new guest on every night.
I have a new appreciation for any interviewer who has to talk to different people and just getting a sense of everyone's like little intricacies. Because I suck at talking to people. I'm very bad at like any interaction. Like usually if I'm in a room with like 20 people for an hour, I leave the room feeling exhausted, even if I don't do anything.
Yeah,
definitely.
Also want to say our shirts should be up soon as of this recording.
We are working getting them out soon.
All right, so we will have a shirt shop, and I will be advertising it. We'll mention on here. I'll be mentioning it in the Facebook page. I'll be mentioning it in the Instagram page. So it is coming. There will be shirts, and once they are shirts, I'll be wearing them everywhere I go. Because the shirt I made at the mall did not last very long. So
nope, they never do. That's why I never make them at the mall.
Yeah, it was a one-time thing for going to convention.
I had to explain my mug to people. The mug Stefan made for us of Naked Mike on it. I was like,
Naked Mike.
What the fuck is this mug? And I was like, that's Mike. It's my podcast host.
My favorite Metal Gear character, Naked Mike.
Naked Mike.
Okay, that's funny.
Well, it has been a year, and I just want to say thanks to my co-hosts, Stu and Mike, because like honestly, if it wasn't you two guys doing this with me, I don't think I would still be on this, honestly. And if DJ was still here, I don't think I would be needed either. So I'm kind of glad it's the three of us right now. Mm-hmm. It's been a very interesting experience for first year of podcasting. And I feel like my strength of talking, like Stu said, like learning how to talk again has grown. And you definitely are picking up a new skill when you get on the mic. It's just like, whoa, this is weird.
It's helping me in life. It's more effective. I would recommend everybody out there that has to take a public speaking class, don't just start a podcast instead. Like it's helping me become a better communicator in life.
Seriously. Yeah. And what else was I going to say? I don't know. It's probably something sappy.
It's always like it's made me appreciate having problems too in a weird way, where like there'll be something I want to fix. Like I mean, we've mentioned it. I think we mentioned like with one of the like bonus episodes we did early on, just like explaining what we were doing. Where like I've started to appreciate like if something goes wrong, just learning how to fix it. I really like that because it's like
we've gotten pretty good at that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where the audience doesn't know this, where shit has hit the fan like right before some episodes, and we have to very quickly solve a problem. And getting better at doing that, like I feel like I'm prepared now. Like I'm gonna be in the office one day, and like they'll be like, "Oh, we fucked up. Like we have to fix this problem by tonight." And I'm like, "I'm on it. I got it. I'm on top of things. I've dealt with this before."
Oh yeah, we're getting better. So. No, I just want to thank everyone for listening that's been tuning in for this for a year. Like it is watching my dream come to life. Like it is just so amazingly. And if you listen to this episode, this is your first episode, you're still here for some reason, you should definitely listen to our Republic Commando episode, which has over 1,000 downloads at this moment. And that's unreal. I don't understand why, but I'm okay with it.
I've listened to that episode a couple times trying to figure out if we did anything different. And
we did.
I don't. Yeah, it's just. It's something about that episode in particular. It's just blowing up.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Right? I think it's just about time to wrap this up.
What's funny is I thought it might be the Star Wars thing, but we've had other Star Wars episodes that like haven't done as well.
That's true.
I'm like, I know Republic Commando is like a beloved game, but we've done a couple beloved games. It's just like it's like the perfect, maybe it's the perfect balance of everything. I don't know.
All right, and before I forget, want to give a shout out to Bobby, aka Mike Stoney, who provided our awesome intro and outro. It's Cool Kid Squad from his EP Bite the Bullet, which you guys have heard this thing many times. So I'd also think it's just funny how it started off all. I just want to get it out of the way because I still have a couple more things, but I just want to say, like it started off 4 of us, and in the end now it's still 3 of us, but it's a lot of work podcasting. It really is.
Yeah, I love it.
There are times where I know we're about to start and I'm not like dreading it or anything, but I'm like tired. I just got off of work or something and I'm just like, oh man, I have to talk for 2 hours. And then once we get into it, like 5 minutes in, I'm usually like, oh, thank God we're doing this.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Where like I will often like wait to take a shower until right before the podcast, like try to like wake myself up. But then as soon as we start talking, it's like, oh, I didn't even have to do that. Like I don't need to do these things.
I've been on other shows, and there's something special about you guys, about both of you guys, when we all sit down and talk. So I got to say that
it's fun.
It flows really well. And I at first, when we first started, I would listen to every episode as soon as Mike posted it, just to like listen to things that I could fix. Like I would sit down, like, I mean, you guys know, like I would text you like right after I listened to the episode and be like, all right, I think I can fix this audio issue. I think I know how to do this.
Yeah.
But like I have stopped listening to our episodes for that reason. I've started listening to them just because I enjoy listening to them, which is rare because usually I hate listening to anything that I'm in. So it's been fun.
All right. And I think that's we're about 2.5.
Which is why we're ending the podcast forever. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, we're ending it for now. All right, this is episode. We'll be back next week, so we look forward to you guys tuning in. And as yeah. All right, everyone have a wonderful night. We will see you guys next week. I'm done. I said enough.
Before you stop recording, I'm just going to put this on record. Yokai Watch 4 needs to come to North America already. Akira Hito, we've given you so much credit. Please just give us Yokai Watch 4 in return. I've been waiting all year. It was supposed to come out at the end of 2019. Come on.
You ready? We'll do a countdown, and we got to all do it together. Now end recording.
What are we all going to do together? Are we going to yell?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, 1. People.